welcome connoisseurs of fine common cardboard to today's live stream. And I must apologize. I put out the announcement and I have actually been talking at the camera for 35 minutes straight now, thinking I was live, and I wasn't. I didn't click the little button up on YouTube, so I am so sorry. And I built some of the deck. This is so funny. This is the things you got to learn when you're doing streaming. So anyways, we make mistakes, but here we are. Really glad to have everybody on board. We're going to do a little take two. And yeah, starting the stream off, I do really want to thank everybody for participating, but I want to give a really special shout out to our patron contributors to the channel who really validate what we're doing, and they give us a sense that we're on the right track, and they support our efforts with their contributions. So I want to name you all by names and give you that special shout out. Zach, Scooby, Chris, Tristan, William, Paul, Corey, Derek, Devin, Ian, Bobby, Jin Shooting Star, and Noyark. You all are heroes and champions. I really appreciate your support. Clay and I always look at this and we're kind of shocked that people support what we're doing, given how small we are. But it feels great. So thank you so much. I also want to celebrate the fact that we're approaching 600 members on Discord. It's kind of crazy. Every day I look in there and there's all these games happening, and it's just a really exciting time to be doing what we're doing. So yeah, just want to give that shout out to everybody. Thank you all for your contributions. If you too want to become a patron of the channel, let me show you how exactly you can do that. Over on Patreon, we have a number of different tiers. We have $2 all the way up to $50, depending on what you're feeling and you're comfortable with. We have a great value bundle at that $10 a month if you're financially able of doing that. And that includes things like custom interfaces for OBS so that you can do Mox Field playtest. It includes tools that are actually really expensive online. If you want to buy interfaces for streaming and you're looking at doing streaming yourself, you don't actually have to if you came through this. We have playtest templates, we have streaming templates. The things that you see on screen here are things that that you get access to. So we'll customize it with your name, and I'll send it over to you once you get in. So, but of course, the $2 a month also gets you access to our supporters only section of the Discord, which is a really active and wonderful place where we have people talking about Magic all the time. This is also where I'm posting kind of my exclusive deck lists, the things that are really hot, really hype. Things like Third Path Iconoclast, which I haven't posted elsewhere. We have a lot of conversation about that. Real Surreal, Passageway Seer. It's just a great spot. So if you're interested in getting access to that, $2 a month is all it takes. And yeah, it's a wonderful way to support what we're doing here and the channel. So with that, and without further ado, I'm going to redo what I just did. And it'll be easier because this is the second time. So yeah, let's send it. What I want to talk about first is the history of Vizkopa Guildmage. The origins of Vizkopa Guildmage in CPDH, or in Competitive Pauper Commander, go all the way back to, I would say, anywhere from like 2.5 to 3.5 years ago, when Crash and Yalaron were working together on the CPDH tier list. And both of them are active members of the rules committee for Pauper Commander, and the build that was in there was focused around soul channeling type effects. So let's pull this card up here. We're going to look up soul channeling. And basically, what you need to know is that it's a series of effects, and there's a number of them, Deepwood Ghoul, that allow you to pay life repeatedly over and over and over again at instant speed with no cost, except for the life. Why would we do that? Why would we want to lose life? Because there's a card called Children of Corliss. For those of you who've played Legacy before, old versions of Reanimator, and sometimes people still do this, it'll be a spicy one of, old versions of Legacy Reanimator will have a single copy of Children of Corliss, and what it's going to allow us to do is play out a Gristlebrand, which is pay 7 life, draw 7 cards, and do that repeatedly until we don't have very much life, and then use the Children of Corliss to, of course, gain that life back, and then do it again. And then we can reanimate the Children of Corliss to do it again. And that allows you to essentially win the game on the spot. In this deck, what we're doing is we're having Vizkopa, soul channeling on a creature, and then Children of Corliss. And we're going to basically combo off that way. Now, the problem with that is that the ways to tutor up your stuff were essentially Rebel tutors, which generally aren't very good. They're the cards that we're getting off of them and how slow it is and the work it takes to get them is not that great. We're essentially chaining cards together that move us up, and produce more creatures over time, but the creatures aren't very good. They're not very meaningful. Children of Corliss, powerful in the deck, but overall just like not a super high quality card. And so there was that. There was also the fact that there just weren't a lot of like tutors for all the other effects. We now have more. We have Shrine Keeper. Previously we had Totem Guide Heartbeast, and we had, or Shrine Steward, pardon me. We have Totem Guide Heartbeast, and we also have Heliod's Pilgrim, which can find cards like Soul Channeling. We don't have any 3-mana tutors though. So there are no 3-mana tutors to get a Deepwood Ghoul or Soul Channeling. That's Dimir Machinations is not a common. So that's an uncommon. So in general, it just felt a little bit clunky, and it was something that just fell really hard to counter spells. And back in that time, counter spells were everywhere. I mean, it was like every deck, was packing like 10 or more counter spells, and you were likely to be playing against 3 blue decks. Frequently, these blue decks would have Rhystic Study, Mystic Remora, so it just felt like it was very, at the time, I think it was ranked maybe tier 4 or 5. I don't really subscribe to the tier system because I think that pods, player skill, target priority, hands influence the outcome of games a lot, and in a way that makes tier lists in some ways kind of meaningless, because these games don't happen outside of context. There's no like raw power level situation where you are just doing the thing without people interacting with you or identifying what you're doing is threatening. So essentially what I did is I worked with some people locally to a buddy of mine named AJ and another friend of mine, Bobby. Bobby was actually on the part of the CPDH DDB, the deck database that is now defunct, and we've replaced it, of course, with this amazing website right here, Everything CPDH. So he was involved in that, and basically what we hypothesized was, what if we took Vizkopa Guildmage and we built it like Witherbloom Apprentice, where we're using these extort creatures, kind of like extra copies of Witherbloom Apprentice, that we have 6 of them, so similar to having it in your command zone, we're probably going to draw one, and they're going to keep us alive during the early game, and we're just going to play control. We're going to control the board, and similar to how Witherbloom Apprentice is looking for an opportunity to cast a big Weather the Storm on the stack and then protect the commander to gain a bunch of life and drain everybody a lot, Vizkopa Guildmage is going to do something similar to that, but it's going to be more cute and more all at once, and it's going to be a bigger life drain, whereas Witherbloom is like a little bit slower. And that build has worked. It's a great deck. I have various builds of it, but it's functioned really well. However, what I think I want to do with Vizkopa Guildmage is to build. I need to start from scratch. I need a V3 essentially to kind of wipe the slate clean of my notions about it before, about the cards I want to play, and think about the role that it's going to take. And I think that right now is a perfect opportunity to be playing Vizkopa Guildmage because of just the way that it is. This commander is vulnerable mainly to counter spells. And counter spells are an all-time low right now. People have chosen to lean out of blue and into black and into red and into more removal. Removal can be used kind of at any time in the game, and it's in some ways like retroactive. You don't have to have the mana up at the time the spell is cast to do it, which means that removal is going to allow you to like tap out a little bit more, and then later on when it's a problem, you can kill the thing that needs to die. Whereas counter spells, you need to hold that mana up, and once you use it, it's kind of also like using up your protection spell for your key things, your commander or whatever's in play that you want to protect. So, as counter spells have gone down and kill spells have gone up, Vizkopa doesn't care if it's killed. If we cast it, we're trying to do the thing. We don't hang Vizkopa Guildmage out there. We don't run it out early. We're going to cast it, we're going to activate it, and we're going to cast our gain life spells to try and run that out. Because the counter spells are low, we're less punished for doing so. The problem Vizkopa Guildmage had is you would play this card out, you would activate it to do the Sanguine Bond or the Exquisite Blood, I can't remember which effect that copies, and you cast your life gain spell and somebody counters it, then you essentially wasted your whole turn and you no longer have that life gain effect. Because there's less counter spells, more kill spells, if they go to kill it on the stack, we activate it again. And then our thing resolves and we drain the table for 16, right? And we gain all this life. The other reason it's good is that aggro has greatly risen in the format. And that's for a couple of reasons. Commander Legends Baldur's Gate printed a lot of really aggressive stuff. We got Gut in the mix. We've got even to a degree, like TPI is a mid-range deck that can apply a lot of pressure through pinging, also through some of its anthems. Mostly a mid-range deck, but it has aggressive elements to it, like anthems that can really push a lot of damage. Passageway Seer, Rilsa Rail, basically decks that are like pushing damage early on are more common now, and they're far more playable than they used to be when everything was just counter spells and combos, and you would apply pressure to one player and then somebody would combo off. So it was kind of pointless. And it wasn't good, but it's good, and it's very reasonable to play aggro right now. So with all these aggro decks running around, that means our combo pieces are modally functional at keeping us alive at different parts of the game, while also just being things that we can kill people with. And that's so good. Like, I really like cards in combo decks that are always relevant. Ghostly Flicker is a great example. If you build your deck around it, you can just value Ghostly Flicker on like a Seagate Oracle and your commander. Say they go to kill your commander, you flicker it, it's a protection spell, and it's going to get you something back. Combo cards that don't do that I'm not a big fan of. They're just dead air. And like a good example would be like Gretchen's combo cards are phenomenal because they're just stacking auras, and all Gretchen wants is tons of mana. If it doesn't have the tools it needs, it's going to activate its ability several times to just draw cards. So it wants tons of mana, but then those same things that give it mana are the same things that cause it to go infinite later on when it gets like, some untap effect or freed from the real with an untapper, something like that. So in this game, our life gain effects are going to keep us alive until we want a combo. So modally very functional. Now, some of the things we're going to want to think about as we're leaning more into into combo. So we're like combo control as opposed to control combo, which is what I was doing before. And so one of the things we're going to want to have even more mana. Like 12 rocks is not enough. I want 20 mana rocks. Okay, so this is going to be a thought experiment to a degree, but I think that there's light at the end of the tunnel for this to actually be a better build of Vizkopa than what I've been playing in the past. And I have a ton of experience with this deck, so this is what my intuition is saying. We want to play Mana Rock on turn 2, Mana Rock on turn 3, or 2 of them. So we can go Mana Rock on turn 2, play the 3rd land drop on turn 3, cast a Sisay's Ring or an Urgolem's Eye, or we can do a turn 2, 2 Mana Rock, turn 3, 3 Mana Rock, into 2 Mana Rock. Both of those sequences are basically opened up and available to us to do. So moving up the curve is important because Vizkopa Guildmage is mana hungry. If we do have to run through a counter spell, we're going to go Vizkopa Guildmage, cast it, they counter it. We'll cast it again, activate the ability, cast the lifelink or cast the life gain spell. And we want to be able to do that all in one big bursty turn. We're going to need tons of mana to do that. We're going to want tons of draw spells. Black has great draw. And we want to draw lots of cards. We want to have lots of resources. We want to have lots of lands, lots of mana rocks. We want lots of all of it. And we're going to have these turns where we're rock, draw, hold up, kill spell. We want to be able to do a lot, take a ton of game actions. So 20 mana rocks is what I'm looking at. And because, of course, I went live earlier without actually being live, I've done some of the work. So we're going to skip ahead to where I was at before by taking all these cards in the sideboard and moving them into the main board. And I'll go back through my rationale on why these cards are in there. So let's take these really quick. We're going to scoop up all of these. There's 3 of them that are going to stay in the sideboard, and I'll show you exactly why that is. So we're going to pull them over here, save, and you'll see that they're all already organized into our categories. So Gangrenous Zombies is going to go into the sideboard. And for those of you that don't know, on Moxfield software, there are these drag boxes. If you're using the right function, you can drag these into different boxes. So we're going to drag that over in the sideboard. First of all, we're going to go visual grid. This is going to make it a little bit easier for you all to see what cards we're talking about. And actually, we could even go visual spoiler to make that even more clear. So let's take Arms of Hadar, and you're going to see a pattern here. Eyeblight Massacre and Gangrenous Zombies, and we're going to put it into the sideboard. Now, why are we putting these in the sideboard? I think with this build that we are very unthreatened. For the most part, we're not very much threatened by decks that push non-commander damage in combat because we gain so much life. I've played a lot of Thrall Parasite, which is an extort deck. It's 1 mana, 1/1, has extort, has some other ability that's irrelevant for the most part. And in that deck, play a lot of rocks. All of our stuff can be extorted off of. And when we're extorting like that, the damage that we get chipped in at doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter at all. So a smart player is going to take their damage that is combat damage, non-commander damage, and they're going to send it elsewhere where it actually matters, and then they're going to focus on getting their commander in at us. If their commander doesn't deal a lot of damage, they're just going to have to leave that Vizkopa player to somebody else, somebody who deals commander damage, something like a gut, something like a Sailor's Bane, maybe a large passageway seer, a Rilsa Rail, something that is actually going to be able to push on our life total in our commander damage sense. These cards are going to sweep up little things, and these are the things that are going to, or like a gut token, that are going to apply pressure in a non-commander damage sense. The reason they're in the sideboard is that we're going to see how this deck plays out when we test it. And if it turns out that we're getting a lot of hate, we're going to need these cards. Arms of Hadar and Eyeblight Massacre in particular are devastating spells for gut players. The reason I mentioned gut in this particular context is that gut currently, as it stands, has the second highest win rate of any deck in CPDH based on the submitted data. We don't want to read too much into this data, even though I'm very pleased to see that my Third Path Iconoclast deck is doing quite well in the position 1. We don't want to read too much into this because there's a lot of games that aren't submitted and there's a lot of games played. So we don't really know what this means. More data is going to help solidify these contenders and show us really, what is great in the format. And this stuff is going to change, maybe as these decks rise, the counters to them start to increase as well. And we're going to see things level off to where things are probably like maxing out at a 30-ish% win rate over time as people learn how to counter the things in the format. So that's why we're playing cards like, Eyeblight's Massacre, or Eyeblight Massacre and Arms of Hadar, because these basically kill the gut. There's no way to protect it, except for to give it maybe a buff to its toughness. And then once the gut dies, the Inspiring Leader is no longer working, and all the 6/3s become 4/1s, and then they die to state-based effects. So these are devastating. Gangrenous Zombies is another one. It's just an onboard creature that's going to give us the ability to do that kind of an effect as well. More like an Evankar's Justice on board that's also just a 2/2 with 2 black pips. We can recover this with Witch's Cottage and Mortuary Mire, much like a Crypt Rats. Now this is going to lead us straight into the sweepers. These are pretty obvious. In any sort of mid-range and controlling black deck, we're going to play these cards. Crypt Rats, devastating. This can end the game on the spot. We can actually give Crypt Rats lifelink, which is another thing we can do with Gangrenous Zombies. Grant it lifelink, activate the ability, pay a bunch of black mana, end the game. Crypt Rats hits players and creatures. Same with Gangrenous Zombies. If we hit everything on the board for 2, let's just assume there's 2 creatures in play for every player. It's going to be 4 players are going to be hit, and then there's going to be 8 creatures in play, and Crypt Rats would be included in that. So that's 12 creatures being hit for 2 with lifelink is 24. If we activate the Vizkopa, we're going to gain 24 life. Everybody's going to lose 26. That's game over. Like life totals are all very precious right now with 30 life. 30 life almost feels like, it's not a lot, and so these are really powerful. Evankar's Justice is another one of these big hosers. We've got tons of mana. Being able to slam this thing over and over and over again is a win condition in of itself and does massive damage to some of the top aggro decks in the format. Pestilence, probably one of the best cards at common in terms of Pauper Commander. I think this card is almost playable in any black deck because it's hitting players, it's hitting creatures. You can retain it in play if you keep a creature. Tons of black creatures have lots of toughness. Vicious Battle Rager has 5. Thorn of the Black Rose has 3. We frequently only need to crack it for 2 to deal with the things that are on the board. If we crack it for 2, the gut's dying and all the tokens are dying. But same thing with Third Path Iconoclasts. Sweepers like this are also pretty devastating against Rilsa. You kill most of their creatures. You won't kill the Rilsa most of the time. Pestilence also pairs in pretty gross ways with cards like Cemetery Gate, which we are going to play in this deck, and we'll talk a little more about these in a moment. Cemetery Gate's 3 mana, 0/5 protection from black. If you put this in play with a Pestilence, you're not going to lose your Pestilence because Cemetery Gate doesn't die to damage-based effects, basically. It's not going to get hit for 5 by a red deck in most cases, and black kill spells are the most common ones. So they might bounce it, but this is a lock piece. So starting with those sweepers, now this leads us kind of over here into tutors, and one of those tutors is Dimir Houseguard. We are going to play this card because it's actually hitting absolutely everything we could possibly want in this deck. It can hit ramp through Urgolem's Eye. If we have everything we need and we just want to continue to make more mana, we can hit Urgolem's Eye or Sisay's Ring. We can hit removal spells. In a really big pinch, we can take Snuff out. So 3 mana transmute, and then 4 life to cast the spell. It basically becomes a bad murder, but in a pinch we can, because there's no other 4 mana kill spells that I think we're going to want to play. There might be one that makes a food token that we could consider. It hits Siphon Mind, which is an amazing draw spell. It hits Thorn of the Black Rose, which is Monarch, as well as a kill spell basically because it's got Death Touch. We can hit Vicious Battle Rager for the initiative. We can get Mass Edicts, like my brain is totally blanking on me here. Slum Reaper and Chain Devil are both 4 mana. And so it's just incredibly dynamic. And it gets the sweepers. It gets Pestilence. It gets Evenkar's Justice. It gets Eyeblight Massacre and Arms of Hadar. It's just like one of the best tutor spells in the format for black. So we're going to play this. It's also just a creature. We can just play this. It's evasive. It has protection in a weird way. Then we're not going to be sacrificing our extorters to keep this around. Shred Memory may not stay around in the deck. I talked about this in the video I made prior to this, where I wasn't live, which is that Shred Memory does find a number of things. The things aren't as high quality, but it is modal, and it does deal with graveyards. So Shield Wall Sentinel is going to be in here because we're looking to find the extort creatures. And which one can you find that has Defender? Well, Basilica Guards has Defender. And extort is a really important part of this deck. Witherbloom Apprentice, which is an analogous comparison to this, it's a very similar approach. This is going to be more combo focused than control, where you can see Witherbloom is like a control deck with like a soft combo kind of thing, but it's really mainly a control deck. This is like combo control. We can find Basilica Guards with this. We can also find Cemetery Gate with this. And the extort is going to come out early, and it's going to do what the Witherbloom does. It's going to keep you alive. You're going to the life drain doesn't matter. It's not really important. What's important is that you gain 3 life for every spell you cast. And when this deck has 20 mana rocks, there's just like not a lot of bad draws. Like we want lands, we want mana rocks, we want draw spells, we want kill spells, we want it all. And this is going to allow us to really like keep ourselves alive while applying that subtle pressure to the table. So we can find these with this. We're going to play all the extort cards, even the bad one, Syndicate Enforcer, which is not my favorite. We are going to play that one as well. So moving through here, I want to show you the rocks. This is actually in the when I was talking to myself here, basically with nobody in chat, because of course I hadn't gone live yet. I talked about these mana rocks and why it's so important. Vizkopa is incredibly mana hungry. We need lots of rocks. We need to draw one of these at least in our opening hand, and the math around that's pretty interesting. In Passageway Seer, I did some really rough but sophisticated mathematics on how to achieve consistency in getting 2 lands and a mana rock in your opening hand in Passageway Seer. The reason you want that is because that means that you can play Passageway Seer on turn 3, gain the initiative, and start to do what you do. That was in the control mid-range build of Passageway Seer. And I had 14 mana rocks, and the math came out to be about 87% probability with a single mulligan of getting the outcome we wanted, which was 2 lands minimum and a rock. 20 rocks is going to get us to the point where our odds are like 90 to 95% that we're going to hit 1 to 2 mana rocks and the lands to cast them, because that's all we want to do. And we're going to play rocks that are going to generate resources for us, either repeatedly or as a single time thing, because with all this mana, if we top deck an Orzhov Locket, we can cast it, extort off of it, pay the 5, draw the 2 cards, and just go on our merry way. So 20 is about where we want to be. I think we could probably do some more math on this to figure out exactly what the number is, but I would guess that it's going to ensure an enormous level of consistency. This concept of playing like up to 20 mana rocks is something that was coined by Noyark, one of our basically he is our biggest supporter on the channel, and has been amazing for us. And he is also like a really brilliant deck builder, and he was kind of the progenitor of the Big Blue, or the person who really started to put it out into the ether about this ethos of playing lots of mana rocks and then playing big draw spells, lots of value, and just huge quantities of value. So this is basically applying Big Blue to Vizkopa for kind of Big Black, Big Orzhov in this case. So yeah, we've got Sisay's Ring, Urgolem's Eye at the top end. This is going to tell you what we're doing, right? We're making lots of mana. We've got Network Terminal, Lantern Revealing, Bonder's Ornament, Honored Heirloom, basically all these ways to generate additional mana. Some outliers that you'll see here are Guardian Idol. I'm a really big fan of this card in any deck that has sweepers. If we play a Pestilence and we sweep the board, we can then activate Guardian Idol to crack in on somebody who has the Monarch or the Initiative, and we are going to sit on that Monarch and the Initiative for the rest of the game. Guardian Idol, Fountain of Ichor, and actually I forgot about this one. Fountain of Ichor is another one. That basically, like, I've won games on the back of these like a few times now. Just making your mana rock into a creature that didn't die to the sweeper and then just cracking in and getting that value can mean a lot of life. It can mean a lot of cards. It can mean that you sit on the Initiative forever, Monarch it forever, and that's oftentimes a win condition for a control deck. So we're going to slot that in here. We may reduce this down to 20. Maybe we'll find a bad mana rock that we don't really care about. The first one that comes to mind here is either Lantern Revealing, which I haven't been super impressed with. Lantern Revealing works a lot better when you can scry cards to the top, because then we can take that card, put it into play. But it would also be looking at maybe Orzhov Cluestone would be another option. So for the meantime, let's just take Lantern Revealing and we'll throw this back into considering just to get back to 20, because I think we don't necessarily need any more than that. Okay, so let's go here. We've got 35 lands too. I know we didn't cover that. I've got snow covered for the Gangrenous in case we go into that. 35, I usually play 34 lands in most like mid-range and control decks. 35 is signaling that we really do want a lot of mana. We want tons and tons of mana. We're okay having some dead air in our deck, because the other thing we're going to do is play a ton of draw spells. So I started adding these, and this is where I realized I looked over at YouTube and I was like, oh my God, I forgot to go live. Holy Moses. So anyways, some of the draw spells we're playing here, Night's Whisper, Sign in Blood, these are all pretty obvious because basically every black deck kind of wants to run them. The outliers here are you don't always see Succumb to Temptation, you don't always see Foreboding Fruit. But generally speaking, like Blood Pact being able to hit somebody for 2, this actually could matter in this deck. We might be able to kill somebody with this. Same with Foreboding Fruit. The reason we have Foreboding Fruit is that these food tokens are actually going to be really good on those turns where we maybe need to gain some life or we want to gain some life to kill somebody. We can stack these effects in, and if you just activate Vizkopa twice, sacrifice 2 food tokens, that's like 12 life. It's a lot. So yeah, powerful. So let's go into the considering section, and we're going to take a peek and look at some of the other draw spells we could play. Survival Cache is one that I was thinking would be really good here, because it's basically 3 mana, you're going to have a life gain effect, and then if you have more life than an opponent, draw a card, and it's going to rebound. So we're going to get 2 instances of life gain. We're going to get 2 casts, which means we can extort. Actually, let's see, does it cast on the second? Cast this card from exile without paying its mana cost. So we can extort this twice, and it's going to draw 2 cards. So this is 3 mana, gain 4, draw 2, because we are going to have the most life in a lot of cases. So let's throw this in the main deck. I like that a lot. Ransack the Lab here. Not sure why that was ever in the deck. We're going to remove that. Crushing Disappointment, instant speed. It's going to drain people, and you're going to gain. You're going to draw some cards. It's only draw 2. Because we're more of a combo-focused build of this deck, I think we actually might want this because it's just a little bit more pressure. So let's throw that in there in the main deck. These ones here are one that I'm not sure about. Bodies are paramount in Pauper Commander. The ability to get on the board and insulate yourself against heavy beats by having cards that either dissuade combat or make combat painful for your opponent is really, really important. And all of these cards in white, black, and in Staunch Throne Guard all do that. Thorn of the Black Rose has Death Touch. We can just block something and kill it. If it's like a high-value commander that they don't want to lose, they may choose to not swing at you. And it's also going to draw you a card. Palace Sentinels, 2/4, not as good. But these repeat draw effects are really powerful in a deck where we have Pestilence, Crypt Rats, Evenkar's Justice. Staunch Throne Guard is probably the best of all of them because it's a 2/5 and it has Vigilance. It's just so thick. It's huge. So let's drop both of these in the deck for now. But one thing we want to keep in mind is that we're not going to be a super heavy creature-based deck. And if we lose the Monarch, we're not going to be great at getting it back. That might be okay. It might be that the Monarch and the Initiative distract somebody and they go somewhere else, which does happen occasionally. Edicts that we're going to get to play, I think like these have gone down in quality a little bit. When I was playing Witherbloom Apprentice and I kind of started to coin the heavy usage of edicts in my decks, it was because there just weren't a ton of creatures, and the creatures you killed tended to be really fucking good. So they were like Gretchen level stuff where you've got like untappers, you've got like a single commander like a Crackling Drake, or you've got just not very much in play. As boards have proliferated, we have like elf strategies where they're using untappers and they're using Llanowar elves to move up the curve. Then they just eat it with a 1/1 and it doesn't feel great. So we are going to play these because we do need this tech in our deck, and they're still just good cards. The ones here that are probably the most appealing, Chain Devil's kind of the best of them. So we'll throw Chain Devil in there. We'll throw Fleshbag Marauder in there. There's actually a couple others we could play, like Banalish Sleeper is really good. This is a cool reason to be an Orzhov. You basically get this another Phyrexian Rager. It just costs 1 white and a black to do it. You can also just play this card out, which is nice. We don't have to kick it if we just want the body. The other options, and this is probably one of the best Mass Edicts in the format now, is Vraska's Fall. Instant speed, Fleshbag Marauder, gives a poison counter, which doesn't matter. Literally doesn't matter, not for this deck. So yeah, we're gonna consider playing that one as well. We're gonna be thinking hard about whether we need these effects though. It's just important to have edicts in your deck because some decks have the ability to protect their commander, and we might need to save up for a turn where we sweep and then edict their creature, which is a common play pattern that I've used in my games. I think we can skip on Slum Reaper now because it's not as good as Chain Devil. Chain Devil does get around tokens, which is great. Okay, we haven't even gotten into the life gain stuff, but we're going to get there. I want to make sure that we have enough draw. We'll also get into the removal. Yeah, let's see. Oh, we are definitely going to play Suture Priest. Yeah, we'll get into some of this stuff too. But let's make sure we've got our draw suite fully kitted out here while I kind of take a look at some of these cards that we've got. Okay, so let's do function draw. Function draw, O2. We want to draw at least 2 cards off of a card. And we're going to do CMC. Well, let's just start with that, O2. So we have kind of like the Deadly Dispute effects, which we could play. I don't love the idea of like sacrificing our artifacts, but it's a thing that we're going to have a lot of, so it's not awful. We're not going to be into the Village Rites type stuff a ton where it's only sacking a creature because our creatures are really premium and they're going to die a lot. So maybe there's a reason to be playing these because we're going to play them. We can cast this, extort it, and sack that creature so we can get some value off of it. But I don't know. Not super bullish on it. Demon's Due is interesting. Scry 2, draw 2 for 4. This is basically Behold the Multiverse, which is a card I commonly play. So we'll throw it in here for now. We've got the Foreboding Fruit. Got the Infectious Inquiry. We're not playing that. Oh, Infernal Idol is really good in this deck. We're definitely going to play this card. This is an amazing mana rock. We've got the Night's Whisper. Great. We got the Pointed. You got the Read the Bones. Reckoner's Bargain does actually gain us life. This is going to go in. This is going to be really strong, I think. If we just have like, I don't know, Staunch Throne Guard in play, then we can like sack it and gain 5 and drain everybody for 5. So this is cool. We could even consider something like, no, we don't want to play Scion of Alaster because we're never going to hang our commander out, and this only works with your commander in play. Okay, good. So all of these are solid. Temple is under attack. We don't really care about the indestructibility, and I don't want to draw my opponent cards, so no, that's fine. Let's look at draw 3 really quick. Black doesn't have a whole lot of these. There's Casting of Bones. Interesting. So we're actually going to have to go O3 or O draw O3 because this has not been listed as a draw spell. Yeah, so Casting of Bones, whenever your creature that you're enchanting this with dies, you draw 3 cards, and you can choose one and discard one of those cards. We could play this card on like an extort creature, knowing that it's going to die. I don't know. I think we're probably fine not doing that and just saying we did. So let's get Reckoner's Bargain up here into draw, and Demon's Due into draw. Now there's a couple of other draw spells in black that actually don't say draw on it. These are more like card selection that do generate card advantage, and they're 4 CMC. So CMC equals 4. And it's either going to be look or reveal. So O:(look or O:(reveal. We'll do card like that. I think this should find, Bitter Revelation, Blood Price, and Blood Bargain are options. These all do damage to us, which is going to be a theme. We're going to be hitting ourselves a little bit with this stuff too, which is where the Extort will really come into play. Instant speed is really nice. This is look at the top 3, put 2 of them into your hand, 1 into the graveyard, deals 2 damage, instant speed. Blood Price is going to be look at the top 4. So these 2 are probably the more appealing ones. Yeah. We'll throw these in here for now, and I think we're probably going to cut 1 or 2 of them, just depending. I just want to see how many draw spells we have, because basically, like, our ability to have cards in play that are extorting make all of these cards very good. So how many draw spells is that? 18. That's pretty dang good. We don't have the initiative in here yet. We have 18 creatures, so we definitely could play the initiative. Initiative is just so good. The trap is good. Vicious Battle Rager is an amazing blocker. It's kind of funny, when you're in black, like, I hate to like simplify things like this because this format has complicated dynamics, but like Vicious Battle Rager is just almost a universally playable card. It's like Staunch Throne Guard in that you have a card that is actively giving you the ability to generate resources ad nauseum while also just being a really good card. Like Staunch Throne Guard allows you to try to regain the Monarch or the initiative while also blocking really well as a 2/5. Vicious Battle Rager is the same, except that instead of having Vigilance, we have the ability to basically always get the initiative back, because 5 life is such a huge hit. It's like, 17% of your opponent's life total or more, So I think we actually are going to play this. The land is relevant, the trap is relevant, the goad is relevant, the drawing the cards is relevant. The 4/1 could be granted lifelink if we wanted to. We have, if we add the other initiative cards, we're going to be up to 21 creatures, and that is plenty for Throne. 21 creatures is above what we need for Throne of the Dead 3 to be consistent. I've done the math on that, and if you want to be like 90 to 95% consistent, you need to have more than 20 creatures. Base minimum is 16. So Vicious Battle Rager is going to go in here under draw, basically, because it is drawing you cards. Underdark Explorer, its initiative is just so good that I am going to play it. The 5/3 and the aggressive nature of this is not exactly what we're looking for in this deck, but the repeat access to the initiative is just so good. And being able to reuse this with something like Mortuary Mire or Witch's Cottage if it's died is good. It's very strong. So also keeping in mind that 3 of these creatures are actually edicts where they're going to sacrifice themselves. Let's drop these here into creatures. Creatures. And while I'm doing this here, just check in with you all. How y'all doing? Y'all having a good weekend? Let me know how you're doing in the chat below. Eager to hear from you all. I've just wanted to reflect too. I appreciate everybody's patience with the Let's Build not happening yesterday. I had some wonderful close friends of mine come up from south of where I live in Washington, and they're staying the weekend. And I just found myself really wanting to prioritize time with them and with my family, and just taking like a self-care weekend just feels really good right now. So we all got to do that from time to time, and so here we are. Dimir Houseguard is also not going to be very much of a creature, but it does count. And then we'll go creatures, and then that initiative card here is also going to be under draw. So there we go. Okay, so 20 draw spells, 18 creatures, 3 edicts, 6 extort, we have 2 pieces of graveyard hate, which is plenty. I don't even know that Shred Memory will make it into the deck. I don't think I care about graveyards in this deck. We're more proactive than other builds of Vizkopa Guildmage, so I think this will probably be fine. We might end up cutting this. We'll see. There is one other graveyard hate spell that we could play that's probably quite good right now, and that's Crypt Incursion. So many creatures in this format right now. It's just absolutely flooded with them. It's such an important part of Pauper to have resources on the board that can either attack into gaining the Monarch of the Initiative, apply pressure, or stymie pressure by blocking and doing or eating Edict. And because of that, cards like Crypt Incursion are going to be probably pretty good. This is like a 3-mana gain 9, I would imagine, in a lot of cases, and it's instant speed. It's also graveyard hate. Exiling creatures from the graveyard, not as useful. Against a Rocco, it's good. If somebody, but generally speaking, like these blue decks that are doing combo stuff, they're not getting their creatures back. If their Peregrine Drake dies, it's probably dead. So there's that. But you can also use this against a Persist combo if you needed. But I think we do actually want to main deck this as graveyard removal. It's also life gain. So let's make sure we've got this in the right category, because I think I have 2 graveyard tags. Got graveyard hate and graveyards. So we'll just remove this tag right here and go remove this tag. There we go. So that'll leave it in. Oh, interesting. It kind of orphaned it there. So where did it go? Life gain, crypt there. Perfect. Okay, sweet. So this is also going to be a way that we can gain lots of life. Okay, so that one's good. So we've got our graveyards taken care of. We've got our land base. We're going to have to go and add our tech. We might have one more rock than we need. Got our extorts, edicts, draw, our bodies. Is there anything else bodies-wise that we're going to want to play? We could actually add some creatures that draw spells into here that can block. You know, like push this up to like 25 draw spells by putting cards like Inspiring Overseer. What's it called? The Priest of Ancient Lore, Roving Harper maybe. The white ETB draw creatures are actually better than the black ones. So we could do that. That's an option because they actually do gain life. That's another thing. Both of them do. Not the Roving Harper, but okay. So we'll come back to that. I just want to see other cards that we have in here because we basically need, actually, these last 6 slots and more are going to need to be dedicated to life gain. So Grey Merchant of Asphodel, I can't believe this made it all the way till the end without getting in the deck. Gary's going to be awesome. We also don't have any removal in the deck yet. So we are actually a little ways out from being able to send this one here. This is also a creature. So we're going to do that. So we've got the Gary for the life gain. Yeah, we're probably going to go to 115 cards, and then we're going to have to titrate down from there. So let's get a couple of the big ones. Sunspring Expedition's one of the best life gain spells in the deck because it's a permanent. So nobody's going to be able to counter this. If we resolve the Vizkopa, we activate the ability, people are going to hit bodies are going to hit the floor. It's really strong. It is kind of bad off the top because then you have to get lands into play to get the quest counters, but it's just too powerful to pass up on. We're definitely going to play Last Breath. This is exile target creature with power 2 or less. 2 or less hits a lot of stuff. Power 2 or less hits Peregrine Drake. It hits Archaeomancers. It hits Mnemotic Wall. It's hitting Persist creatures and it's exiling them. It's hitting basically all the extort cards. It's hitting... Let's see. It's not going to hit cards that do commander damage. It does hit Gut. Man, this card's amazing. It's a controller gains 4 is interesting because what we can do is we can target one of our own things to gain 4 with this. So I think this is good. Then we have Riot Control. Gain 1 life for each creature your opponents control. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to you this turn. This seems strong. Yeah, we're going to put this in there. Siphon Soul is another interesting. Blood Tithe. These ones are like mini Garys that we can cast. But the most powerful ones are like this. Congregate, where you're like, person with 8 creatures in play. I'm going to gain 2 life for each one of those, and everybody's going to hit the floor. And it's instant speed 4 mana. So That one's classic. War Report's the other one. This one hits so heavy. The number of creatures plus the number of artifacts on the field, you gain 1 for each one, and it's an instant. That one just ends games. It's very strong. Rest for the Weary, also a landfall one, but it's a 2 mana gain 8. So there's a couple of other ones like Life Spark Spellbomb, I think is, let's see, or we'll just do Spellbomb. I think that onboard effects in this deck are really premium. 1 mana to gain 5, just sitting in play. You know, when it's cheap to activate, the benefit there is we can spend more mana to get more activations off of Vizkopa. So we don't need to play expensive ones all the time. This one's going to be 4 mana to gain 5 and drain 5 from everybody, so 15. And we can go, you know, 7 mana to do 10. I think that's just really good. So let's do, is there a type permanent? Can you do that? Oh, you can't. Super type? No, I don't know how to do this. If anybody knows in chat how to search for permanents, because what I'd like to do is search for, we could do it this way, where it's like type is not sorcery, and type is not, and actually we need to close that bracket over here. Type is not instant. So you can use a minus before the clause. And we want to do gain O life. That's going to be a big swath of cards, 223 cards. Sup, Chris Lively? Good to have you in the chat, buddy. Yeah, minus T is the easiest, yeah. Answered prayers is really hype. What we're really looking for is a burst of life gain, you know, and like 5 would be really good. So let's just see if we can find something, other things with 5. Well, it's kind of narrow, but gain 5. Ill-gotten inheritance. That's 6 mana to crack that. We're not playing that card. Ruin Processor, put a card from exile, gain 5, but again, 7 mana. It's like, this card is pretty cool. I wish I had more homes for it. Yeah, it's like, just not what we want to be doing. This one here is if you control an angel, which we don't, so 5. Alex Scott says Light of Hope is really good for the cost. Yeah, Light of Hope would be really good. So Lively says, no, wait, no, I stand corrected. Is permanent works. Oh, great. Okay, thank you for that. So let's try that. Thank you for looking there, Chris. I really appreciate that. So let's try this new search tech here. I think it should give us the same result, right? Permanent. So we have 225 results was the last one, and this is going to give us. Oh, but see, okay, so we'll take away the 5 to see. So 231, so a little bit less, but let's do O. So let's do O equals 5. I do want to, I just think like 1 man, you know, like we want to, it should be for 5. So Chris says it got rid of the stickers there. Big brain. The Scroll of Avacyn is very efficient. There is a part of me, like, because it's drawing a card too, that if we had a way to like make this work, it just feels like Angels is like really weird. It's like they're not good cards a lot of the times. This is a pipe dream. Let's just be real. So let's do 4 and see if that, because I might be open to something that did 4. This is 4, but you can only do it during your upkeep. Bleak Coven Vampires slaps in this deck. Holy crap. So it's target player loses 4, you gain 4, but so if we activate, that's 8 mana if we have Viz in play, and then we drain 1 player for 8 and the rest for 4. Target player hurts this card, but I am going to put it in considering. Nope. When it blocks, you may gain 4. That's interesting. Faith's Fetters would be interesting too. Faith's Fetters, probably what we want to be doing. I really like these like O-ring type effects that basically can't attack, can't block, can't activate abilities. Basically like only leaves triggered abilities. And they usually hit permanents. So Bound in Gold, Arresters, something, and then Faith's Fetters type effects are good. The fact that it gains life, I think, actually pushes this over the edge, right? Like if we are just top decking and we need to win the game and we get Faith's Fetters, this is going to do the thing. We can, it's going to be solid. Journey to Nowhere, we could consider that, although we're in black. So I don't know. Actually, the reason we do play Journey to Nowhere is because Journey to Nowhere is unconditional kill spell, and that's what we need for Dargos. And Dargos are a problem for us, right? Like anything that deals commander damage that's big is going to be kind of scary. Lone Missionary is great. Right, gain 4. So I don't know, maybe it is just a body that like blocks. I kind of like that. Yeah, none of these other ones are playable. This one could be. It could be. So let's look up at 6 and see if 6 has anything. I don't think we go to 3. Opportunist, that's in the mana cost. 7. Now, like once we get up to 8, we start to see more, right? Because that's the like Sunspring Expedition type stuff. Nope, and I don't think we're gonna find anything at 9 or 10. 9 and 10. Oh, it's picking it up because of the rolls. That's really funny. Okay, so we've got most of that. So let's just say gain life O equal or O or O4, because we want to say 4 each or equal to for things. So this will bring up like congregate type stuff. Yeah, Conclave Phalanx is an interesting one. Oh, Creeping Bloodsucker is definitely a miss. That's a card that we want in the deck. This is just another extort card that doesn't cost mana to extort, and it only happens once a turn. It's slow. If you all have seen the Pauper Oathbreaker video I recently recorded, that's out there, you should go check it out. The Pauper Oathbreaker video is great. It's really kind of a fun, silly format. But somebody just kept on bouncing my Creeping Bloodsucker, and it was just like, fuck. Kind of drove me nuts. Damn you, Derek. Okay, so Death Watch. If an enchanted creature is put into a graveyard, that creature's controller loses life equal to the power, and you gain life equal to the toughness. This is kind of a do-nothing card, right? Like, it takes setup for this to happen. But, wow. Put that on a Dargo. It dies, they lose 7, and you gain 5. It's pretty sick, but I don't know. If target creature you control attacks and is not blocked, you may choose to gain its power in life. If you do so, it deals no damage to target opponent this turn. It's like a bad form of lifelink for 0 mana. It does only require a tap. That's pretty interesting. Gaining life for each creature we control. Not really what we want to do. Oh, Golden Urn. Okay, somebody told me that this was really good. Because you Golden Urn, if you play it out early, you're gonna have like a gain 9 in play. That's super strong. This is gross. ETB, gain 2 life for each black and red creature target opponent controls. Okay, that's a bummer. If it was each, this would be like one of the strongest life gain effects in the whole deck, actually. This is something I'm going to throw in the sideboard, because that could still be really strong. This one here is similar. When it comes into play, you gain 1 life for each black and or red creature target opponent controls. It's still target, so we could look into these though. We'll sideboard them. Okiba Reckoner Raid is not enough. Whenever another ally gained in the life, nope, not allies. We don't want that. Beginning of your upkeep, put a devotion counter on it, and then if 8.5, no, we don't want to play that. Scholar of Athreos is actually interesting. This is an extort effect that doesn't require you to cast spells, and it's a 1/4, so it's a great blocker. It's something we can sink our mana into. I'm actually kind of into this, right? Like if we don't need to do anything, if we don't want to cast our stuff, we just cast this and start like extorting the table. And really, if you think about it, this effect here, 3 mana, drain 1, gain 3, it's like pretty reasonable. Gain life for each creature in your party. I don't like the party mechanic at all. Zubera, that's pretty funny. Each creature you control, we can't do that. This right here is interesting. This is actually like Scholar of Athreos there. 3 mana, you have to tap and discard a card. Each player loses 2 life. You're going to gain 6, but you can only do it once. So I don't know if that's really premium. I don't think that's enough. The interesting thing is we didn't, with this clause, we didn't get Congregate because it's not a permanent. So let's do it is not a permanent, and see what comes up. Okay. Yeah, Awestrike. This card is crazy. So we do worry about dying to commander damage. 1 damage, prevent the damage, and then gain life equal to damage prevented is going to hose somebody dead. This is a very strong card. Benediction of the Moons is 1 mana for 1 life each player. Nope, we don't want that. I do like Blood Tithe, and I do like Siphon Soul, because they're basically like Gary, you know. They're a little bit less than Gary, mana-wise, and a little bit less life, but they do the whole drain 3, gain life equal to the difference, or, you know, the combination of them. So Blood Tithe is going to be drain 3, and then we gain 9, which actually makes this one of the more powerful life gain spells in our deck. So actually, yeah, if we think about it that way, if 3 players are in play and they lose 3, this is 4 mana, gain 9. That's like actually pretty good. And it doesn't require any sort of condition. There just needs to be 3 players in play. And if we activate Vizkopa, then this is gonna win the game. That's sick. Corrupt would be tight. Oh man. I've wanted to put Corrupt in my black decks for so long, but it's sorcery speed, it's clunky, it's 6 mana. It's like you can't really call it removal because it's 6 mana, sorcery speed, and it's the number of swamps. And we are probably pretty heavily split between white and black, so I don't think we could play Corrupt. Corrupt is interesting in that like a mono black deck, like maybe Passageway Seer, I really like the idea of just having a boomstick. Like, you're dead. Take the player that's a problem and just dead them. They're just dead. Like, you know, hit you for 7. It's a fireball, basically, you know, that can also kill things. And the gaining of life is relevant. Dazzling Reflection. Gain life equal to target creature's power. Next time that creature would deal damage, you prevent it. So this is basically the same thing as Awestrike, but for 2 mana. Yeah, we could put that in for now. Okay, we got that. And we don't even have removal in the deck yet. So this is going to be interesting. Oh, I forgot about Discerning Taste. But this is based on the power of the creature. So Divine Offering, not good enough, just targeting artifacts. Divine Congregation, though, is target player. There are a couple of people are going to mention, like the Festival of Troken, the Peach Garden Oath. I don't think have enough creatures to make these cards work, but maybe I'm wrong. In fact, if we have 3 creatures in play, these are 1 mana, gain 6. Maybe that's good enough. 1 mana, gain 6. So that's basically better than Lifespark Spellbomb. So in the past, yeah, like I'd built around more creature heavy stuff, but in fact, actually we are kind of at that stage though, where we're like, actually there's a fair number of creatures in here. Let's put them in for now. Drain life, another just like huge one. You can only use swamps for this though, so it's not awesome. Or black mana. Divine Congregation is 2 life for each creature target player controls, which is pretty cool, and we can suspend it for 2. This is gonna kind of telegraph what we're doing. Celestial Unicorn is interesting. I admit I'm not super happy with the Celestial Unicorn. I've played a lot of Celestial Unicorn in 60 card as well as Pauper Commander. It not having evasion makes it kind of like the Abyss, which is fine. It's going to swing every turn. It's going to eat things. It's big. It's going to die. and we're not going to play protection spells. You can give it lifelink. Yeah. Yeah, Riot Control's in the deck, Chris. Nope, that was good. We haven't been looking at the list itself, so I totally understand why you didn't see it. You can give the Unicorn lifelink. That is true, and that is a hidden mode in this deck that we don't always think to use. But that's a good point. Yeah, Celestial Unicorn's pretty slick. It's just a matter of how many slots we have, I think, at this point. Exile target non-white attacking creature. You gain life equal to the toughness. The only issue I have with these cards that like require something else to be happening, is that we can't just do the thing. And I don't really want to hang our Vizkopa Guildmage out there. Like, I really don't. We don't have protection spells. We want to cast it and do the thing. And so this right here kind of relies that we like cast it, they attack us, we exile something, we activate it. Just not high on it. Hollow is really interesting. There's some pretty weird stuff you can do with this because you can target spells that are permanents on the stack. So you can make somebody not activate a Corrupt Rats or a Pestilence on the turn that they play it. You can also cast it on a Pestilence that you are casting to do stuff. I don't know. Yeah, there's Riot Control. Rite of Consumption is really only when you have big creatures. And then Scent of Jasmine, reveal any number of white cards. So Scent of Jasmine is going to be awful in a lot of cases. Yeah, we will put it in the considering, not because we're considering it, but yeah. Soul's Grace, gain life to target equal to target creature's power. That's more usable. We have Sever Soul here. Gaining life equal to its toughness. It's also a kill spell. It's interesting. It's 5 mana though. It's sorcery speed, non-black. Siphon Soul is the other one I was talking about. I think these are going to be great. This is 3 mana. If we think about it, 6 mana. 6 mana, so 3 for Siphon Soul, 3 for Vizkopa. That's draining 2, draining 6, draining 8 for everybody. Hey Thanatos, what's up, dude? Alex says student of Ojutai. Student of Ojutai. I wish I could have you link cards, but the YouTube is just like a really aggressive sort of prevention of links being posted in chat. So just getting my camera adjusted a little bit here so you can see me better. Yeah, so Siphon Soul I think is going to be great. Souls, the difference though I will say between this and Blood Tithe, the 1 damage difference is actually pretty huge. Because it's gaining, because it's like you're amplifying it for every player. So so there is that. We're also going to put this here in considering. Destroy target artifact or enchantment, you gain life equal to its converted mana cost is interesting. So if somebody like Oubliette's our commander, or then it's just a gain 3 though. Okay. Tidy conclusion. 5 mana kill spell. It's not great, okay? Like I don't relish the idea of casting this. But we have 21 mana rocks in the deck. I think we probably have even more artifacts in total. So like how much is this? Is this gain 5? I don't know. We're going to throw it in considering. You can see that there's a lot of options here. Draw a card, gain life equal to the number of cards in your hand. Nope. Like if we have 3 cards, this is terrible. Destroy target creature, clash. If you win, gain life equal to the toughness. Okay. That's we're not doing that. Okay. So I bet we are deep into the red here in terms of cards. So let's take a look at Student of Ojutai. Wow. Yeah, this is really strong. This is really strong in this deck. The funny thing though is that it's only gaining us life. So I guess the way this works is that if we have Viz and this out, then we cast a bunch of stuff, we activate. Like how does this translate as opposed to an extort card? Because this is kind of like an extort card, right? Like if we have Vizkopa out with this. Cast Vizkopa, activate it, cast some rocks, drain. I don't know. I'm not certain about this, actually. We're going to throw this in considering. I like the idea, though. It's a good concept, and it just being a body, like I really do value having just like a lot of bodies in these decks. So, yeah. Okay, 113. So yeah, we're kind of squarely where I imagined we might land. And I think that the tension's going to be, we have too many draw spells. So let's cut the ones that seem kind of obvious to me, which is, well, chat, tell me what you think. Do we value looking deeper, or do we value applying a little bit of pressure on everybody's life total? Because Crushing Disappointment hits me and everybody else for 2, and we draw 2 at instant speed. Versus like Blood Price, where you look for, draw 2, and lose 2 life at sorcery speed. We also have Dark Bargain, which is look at the top 3, draw 2. So it's kind of like strategic planning, but you get 2 of the cards and it's 2 more mana and you lose life. I don't know. Basically like this, and Bitter Revelation are all kind of cards that I'm thinking about cutting. Maybe keeping Union of the Third Path is the indestructible. Yeah, so we were just looking at this one. This one, so if it's like 3 mana, gain 5, draw a card, that means we'd have 6 cards in hand, though. Yeah, I don't think we're going to do Union of the Third Path. And the reason being is that if we draw this late game and we don't have a lot of cards in hand, it's just not going to work. I really like the cards that just get better and better throughout the game, but they're still good in the, just throughout the game in general. Like War Report and Congregation are just going to be huge life drain effects. Blood Tithe, Syndicate of Souls as well. Riot Control is going to hit hard. And when we compare something like Union of the Third Path, yeah, it's drawing a card, but it's also just very dependent on something specific happening. So yeah. We also have life gain. So let's go into here. This Spell Bomb actually can be used to draw cards. So let's actually go up, and we're going to go to life gain here. That Urn, I think, is going to be a powerhouse in this deck. This is going to be a life gain effect, and this is a life gain effect. And we've got these ones where it gains life for the creatures we control, which we have 24 creatures. So like if we did the math on that, maybe it's like, if we only need to have 3 creatures in that in play for that to be better than Lifespark Spellbomb. Except for the fact that Spellbomb is a permanent, which is a huge bonus. Scholar of Atheros is also there. Life gain. Actually, we're going to put the Creeping Bloodsucker under a different category because it is life drain, but it's actually an extort card in the way I see it. So we'll do we'll delete that, save, and we'll go Creeping Bloodsucker under creatures, and then we'll go up to creatures, and we'll put it under extort. Okay, and we're at 113. We have 21 ramp. We can lose 1 ramp spell, which we talked about this before. The worst one we have is Orzhov Cluestone. Prismatic Lens as well. We kind of need to know what the mana curve is here. So it's 2 till here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So half of our, if we cut a 2 mana rock, half of our rocks would be 2 mana. But the 2 mana rocks are quite good. Thought Vessel doesn't make black or white mana, and maximum hand size might not be that important because a lot of our cards we're just playing out onto the board. So I think Thought Vessel can go. Keeping Cluestone because we can draw cards off of it. Like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have a lot of draw in here too. So let's just drop, oh man. The 2 mana rocks are so premium. They're so premium that I almost want to just cut Orzhov Cluestone. I could also cut Honored Heirloom. I know people are going to think that's blasphemy, but maybe it is blasphemy. Commander Sphere seems great. Prismatic Lens is worse probably than Thought Vessel, so but it's 2 mana. I don't know, chat. I'm not sure which one of these is supposed to go. Frankly, Orzhov Cluestone is kind of the one that I'm looking at. I really just think that this like cantripping is not that good. This is not that good, and it's 3 mana. So this cantrips, but it's for free. That's the difference. So, oh man, I was just realizing too. There's some other cards that we could be playing too that would incentivize us to make any mana of any color. So like Fountain of Ichor, Bonder's Ornament, Prismatic Lens. Even Felwar Stone, Ornithopter of Paradise, Honored Heirloom, Network Terminal, and that is Righteous Aura, which is really insane in decks that gain life like this, because then we actually are going to play Righteous Aura. That's just flat out, and the reason being is that Righteous Aura is one of the heaviest hitting cards against commander damage. And if we're playing Righteous Aura, then Protective Sphere is actually the one that cares about mana cost. So Protective Sphere says you can pay a colorless and 1 life to prevent damage that would be dealt to you this turn by a source of your choice that shares the color with the mana spent for the activation cost. So with like Felwar Stone and this, we're always going to be able to make the mana we need to prevent life damage, basically, from sources. Yeah, these cards are really, really strong in this deck because they just absolutely destroy the Voltron players. This is going to go under Fogs because that's basically what they are. This is not a miscellaneous. This is remove tag, go down here, drop it into Fogs. Thanatos says it's probably too much mana, but did you look at Bleak Coven Vampires? I did look at Bleak Coven Vampires. I don't mind the mana cost on it, and I like the body. But the fact that it's only 1 player means that it's like 8 mana to drain 1 player for 8 and 2 other players for 4, and for us to gain, 4 life. So, I just don't know. It would be the perfect deck for it because we have 24 artifacts. We're always going to have Metalcraft. But I don't know. I'm sure you can kind of understand where I'm coming from there. Last Breath. We don't even have any removal in this deck yet. Man, we got a ways to go. It's going to come from draw spells, and I think based on the amount of stuff we have to get rid of, it's going to be pretty simple actually. We're going to go Bitter Revelation, Blood Price, Crushing Disappointment's going to go into Considering. I still kind of like that. Dark Bargain's going out. Demon's Due. So it's not just 17. We have 17 plus like 6 or 7 draw spells built into our mana base. Reckoner's Bargain. What's our CMC? Because like, what are we actually sacking with this? 2, 3, and 4. So like, this is going to be 2 mana, sack a mana rock, draw 2, gain 3 on average. That's not probably good enough to play it. The only other reason we'd play this card is that we can sacrifice our Vizkopa if somebody tries to put a Pestilence on it, or if they deep freeze it or something. And that is pretty important. What like dopey cards do we have in here? I think it was just those draw spells. Those were kind of dopey. We like this. We could potentially cut Syndicate Enforcer. It's pretty bad. It's not my favorite card. 4 mana, 3/2 with it just extorts cracked in this deck, so it's like hard to pass up on. Shred Memory. We talked about this before. This card is going to go. Shred Memory is a great card. It's very dynamic. It finds some of our extort cards. It finds Fogs. It's going to find Rest for the Weary. I mean, it is good, but like, it's going to find some removal. But I just don't know that I care as much. Like, the one that I like more is Dimir Houseguard, because like Pestilence, Pestilence is so good. So we're going to throw that into Considering. The life gain is going to have to come down. and it'll probably be just the worst ones. Like, I don't know. I guess the question is like, do we like Ostrike is basically like another, it's like a single time fog, as is Dazzling Reflection, which is good because essentially, well, and here, maybe here's another thought. Maybe these fogs that are like preventing combat damage from a player, from like a creature that is dealing commander damage to us. Maybe these are like our form of removal. It could be that we lean into the proactive nature of the deck and we don't play a lot of removal. And then maybe some of these kind of act as that, preventing the damage, gaining the life. Some of these, yeah, if it's like a Dargo, that's 2 mana, prevent the damage, gain 7. I'm going to be thinking about these ones: Festival of Trokin and the Peach Garden Oath, with 24 creatures in the deck, 25 with the commander, or no, I think that includes the commander. Let's take a look here. Yeah, okay, probably includes the commander. I don't know. I don't know about these. They are nice in the sense that like Sunspring Expedition does suck as a top deck, and so does Golden Urn. Both of these cards are ones that you want in your opening hand, and most cards are not in your opening hand in a game of Magic. So even though this is a 1 mana gain 8, it might actually be better to play one of these, because it's like, if we have 3 creatures in play, it's 1 mana gain 6, and we didn't have to do anything to make it happen. Somebody could kill our creatures to stop that. They are sorceries. I saw this one do really well, but like late game, it's super bad. Draw this mid game, it might be okay. It's just like these on-board effects are so powerful when your opponents have counter spells, because you can just slip them in there. They have to counter it right then and there. And if they don't want to, then they've just got to sit knowing that the commander can come out at any time and pop these. Oh, we also have this fog. That's Riot Control as a fog. Lone Missionary is going to come out. Gaining 4 for 2 is not going to be good enough. 1 mana gain 6 is what we want, right? Siphon Soul compared to Blood Tithe. So Blood Tithe is 7 mana with an activation to gain 9, drain 12. And that's like Gary. It's like Gary. It's actually more, it's like comparable cost to a Gary. It's 2 more mana. You're draining for a lot more than you would with a Gary, and you're gaining less than Gary. But Siphon Soul is 6 mana. So if we compare it to Gary, 6 mana for an activation and Siphon Soul, then it is dealing 2, it's dealing 8 to the table, and we gain, and we're going to gain 6. So in some ways, if we think about Siphon Soul and Blood Tithe being like expensive Garys that are actually more focused on drain than gain, because Gary is going to generally drain, it's always going to drain. You're going to gain a lot more than you drain, right? And these Siphon Souls with Vizkopa are going to be more drain than gain. Scholar of Atheros is a card I'm really liking. Just its body, it's going to do all the things. Rest for the Weary is definitely staying in. I think Last Breath is really strong in the meta right now. We could also use this on our own stuff if we want to do the gain 4. It might not be premium. Maybe we just want like just a good kill spell in that spot instead. Golden Urn, I think this is the principle we're going to go by. Cards that like need a lot of stuff to happen for them to work are probably not going to make the cut. So let's do Golden Urn for the time being, and Sunspring Expedition. I can't believe I'm cutting this card. Okay, we'll just do it. Faith's Fetters is a, this is removal. And it is also going to be a, it's a disenchant, which we do need a space to mark those down. Shield Wall Sentinel might not be premium. you know, we might actually get to a point where neither of these are, but I just feel like with big mana, they're both great. You know, being like Shield Wall Sentinel, find Cemetery Gate, play Pestilence, or Shield Wall Sentinel, find Basilica Guard is great. Because like part of our plan too here is also just like slowly extorting people. So, wow, I was just looking here. I see that we have 7 of you hanging out with us, which is great. I want to thank you all for joining us today on this live Let's Build. It's kind of a rebuild because I've done Vizkopa for before. And later on, if you missed the first part, you'll want to go and take a look at that, explain some of the sections that I did. For those of you who also maybe just got here earlier, I went live at 2, and I swapped over to see the chat and realized that I wasn't live, and I'd been talking to the camera, nobody, for 35 minutes. And so it's pretty funny. I had to just take it as funny. I was frustrated at the moment. I was like, oh, fuck. But, you know, it's okay. Here we are. So yeah, thank you for being here. If you are enjoying the content right now, do make sure to leave a like, do that free thing to support the content. If you have feedback, you can either leave it for me now or you can leave it in the comments below. If you aren't yet subscribed to the channel, that's a great way to make sure that you see more of this competitive Pauper Commander content. And of course, if you do feel like you're getting a lot out of this and you want to support us financially, there is the Patreon, which I'll quickly put up on the screen here. It's just /Common Connoisseurs on Patreon. And we have levels all the way from $2 to $50 a month. Our best offering that we really have is Aficionado here at 10. If that's something you can support, that's great. But for as little as half a coffee a month, you can gain access to an exclusive part of the Discord, which looks like this right here. We have a supporters section right in here where I post my hottest deck lists, stuff like Third Path Iconoclast, which if those of you don't know, Third Path Iconoclast just overtook Gut as the most winning deck in CPDH according to the games that we have right now. So we don't want to take this too seriously. It's just numbers that, you know, are aggregated based on an incomplete sample of the total meta. But if you want to see lists like this that I'm not making public all the time, that's a great way to get access to it. It also gets you access to all of these incredible, let's see, I'm gonna pop this up here. And I do see a comment that just came up there and I will respond to you in a moment. But I want to share about these interfaces that I make. And these interfaces allow you to stream your content in a beautiful way. And basically stuff like this is a really good example of it. We'll put this up on full screen so you can see. But basically this, it's kind of cut off in the video, but basically we put your name custom in here. We put your Twitter handle if that's what you want, your Mox field, whatever links you want, we put in there. And then we deliver that to you. And then you can use these as your OBS is on in your Discord to just like share with people about you know, what you're doing. Or if you want to stream your own stuff, we also provide you the means to do that through this right here. So we'll put your name in there. If you're wanting to stream, do more content yourself, then you get an instant ready-made things. And these sell for like $50 to $100 online. And when you get in at that $10 level, you do get access to these, and they are customized with your name. And of course, if you ever have any issues with it, you come to me, and I will help make sure that you are set up with your streaming stuff. So. But yeah, basically this is just a really high value offering that we have at that aficionado level here that we've got listed there. We also get to vote on the Let's Builds, and I want to mention that because we've got some really exciting Let's Builds coming up, and I'm going to be putting out basically a series of thumbnails for potential videos, and people who are supporters will get the access to vote on the next Let's Build for the coming week. And I've got some really fun ones coming up. This new set has given us a bunch of cool stuff, but there's a bunch of things that I had on the back burner too. So once I have those thumbnails done, somewhere in the beginning of next week, I'm going to be putting that poll out there and supporters will be able to check it out. So anyways, with that little blip, we'll talk about how to support what we're doing here. Let's get back to the deck build and back to the chat. I did see one of you mention we've got Goglides. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but welcome to the chat. I'm glad to have you here. New to the format, learning a lot about common card evaluation from this. Good stuff, man. Hey, that's fantastic feedback. I really love to hear that kind of stuff because really, you know, the finished deck product is a lot less important to me than how we get there. What role are we taking in the game? What does that role tell us about what cards we should have in the deck and shouldn't? If we're very proactive, should we even have Graveyard Hate in our deck? Maybe, maybe not. you know, in this deck, we even had that moment where I was kind of like, well, how much removal are we actually even going to play? Like, are we even like a control deck if we're just gaining life, preventing damage from the sources that are commander damage, and then doing that sort of a thing? So how we get there is really important, and that's really what I hope to deliver with this video series. So Goggle Eyes, I'm really glad that you're enjoying it. So back to the build here. We have 106 cards. We're very light on removal, criminally light on removal. You know, the funny thing is that these edicts are not going to kill the vast majority of like the Voltron commanders, because they're going to be surrounded by other things. So it's kind of weird to be looking at a black deck that doesn't play edicts, but maybe these just need to be kill spells. Let's actually take a look at one other thing. I just had a thought. What about food? What if these food tokens are actually like where we want to be, where like these food tokens aren't going to get destroyed. They can be activated at instant speed. They're not super efficient, 2 mana gain 3, but you know, there's a few of these here. Like, we're not going to play Tempting Witch. We're not going to play Giant Skewer. This card's very disappointing. Just disappointed in it. Late to Dinner is good. Late to Dinner, getting back a lot of stuff in this deck is actually really good. This just stretches us in a whole new direction, though. But these are like other life gain effects that we could consider. Fortifying Positions we're never going to do. But Baked into a Pie, Foreboding Fruit, Late to Dinner, these all kind of look like cards we could play. Let's just throw Baked into a Pie in there for now. It is instant speed, so there is that. We also do need to just get the classics like Oubliette in here. We don't have that yet. This is just the best removal spell in the format, other than, I don't know, Snuff Out Scred. But Oubliette's just so brutal. We're going to switch that printing over so that it's not hyper expensive, and it's in removal. There we go. Okay, and we've got the Baked into a Pie for removal. The Baked into a Pie is also going to be life gain. Cool. So 108, we still have a lot of cards to cut. A lot of cards to cut. Yeah, I think it's going to be Fleshbag Marauder and Benelish Sleeper. And oh, is Vraska's Fall in the... Oh yeah, we're going to put that into considering. Yeah, now we're really getting to the tough stuff here, because now we're seeing like the cost of this, right? The cost of 20 slots dedicated to ramp. But I just think it's really important. We do have a lot of these life gain effects, and if we're drawing lots of cards, we don't need probably as many. But the thing is that a lot of these are like incidentally gaining life. It's like Faith's Fetters is a removal spell that happens to gain life. So I think what we're going to do is, let's see. So what's better? If we cast Festival of Trokin, and I'm just guessing like 3 creatures in play, then we gain 6. We pay 3. We're going to gain 6. Everybody's going to lose 6 for 4 mana. Compared to Siphon Soul, which is going to be 6 mana, drain everybody for 8, gain 6. Siphon Soul's not good enough. But it's just like this demands that we have creatures. So I don't know. This is a bit of a tension there, because these are efficient, and there's going to be possibility of like these being a lot more. Like these could easily be, you know, 1 mana gain 8, 1 mana gain 10. I think Blood Tithe is just that much better than Siphon Soul. The 1 more life is significant, because it's the amount of life lost this way. The amount of life lost this way. Does that... Oh no, I'm thinking of like putting lifelink on something gets kind of complicated. Okay, Siphon Soul is going to come out. That's going to go into considering. Dazzling Reflection is worse than Awe Strike. They're both the same thing. One's just 2 mana. But I have gotten demolished with this. Oh, Mana Tithe. Alex Scott. I'm so sorry, my friend. Mana Tithe is a really bad card. It's a meme, for sure. Mana Tithe is playable when it is a Force Spike in a deck that has Ward in it. If you have Ward in the command zone, Mana Tithe is a devastating spell. But the funny thing about Mana Tithe is that Mana Tithe, so Mana Tithe, if we're relying on the Ward to make Mana Tithe good, then why aren't we just playing a protection spell, right? Like, why wouldn't we just play a protection spell? Because Mana Tithe is so rarely going to tag our opponent's stuff that isn't targeting our creatures. So the card that I would recommend, though, if you do want to play a card like that, is Lapse of Certainty. Lapse of Certainty is a busted card. Being able to break the color pie and have a counterspell in white is super stupid. Like, and mainly because nobody is ever going to play around this. But if you want to play a counterspell in white, and this is, I almost think in a lot of ways, this is like a very staple card because nobody should play around it ever. And it's just memory lapse, and you can end the game with this. You're going to gotcha somebody super, super hard. I don't think that's this deck. We are way too proactive to be doing that. These are also going to go out of considering because we don't play protection. Stave Off does hit our opponent's stuff, which is cool, but I just don't know that that's premium. Let's get some removal in here because we need to really get down to, like, what are we doing here? Reprobation is actually really good because we're not attacking. Victim of Night's phenomenal because it's just mostly unconditional. Oblivion Ring is phenomenal. Unmake is phenomenal. And we can afford to pay a little bit more in this deck. Defile is based on the number of swamps. A lot of times I do play this card in mixed color decks. But the question is, yeah, so like we are 63% of all symbols and 43% of all cards, non-land cards. So we are 2/3 black. Maybe it's good enough. Let's pop it in there. Defile is really good when it's good. So we could play more Bound in Gold type effects. They do kill most things. Grasp of Darkness is good. It doesn't kill a Dargo. Yeah, like Vendetta type stuff is kind of hard because you lose a lot of life. Executioner's Capsule. I don't think we're going to go super deep into removal, though. Like this 10 is like about the maximum I would want to play. Whereas, yeah, Oubliette's there. Because basically we have 10 removal spells, but we have 3 sweepers, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fogs, 2 of which are repeatable, 3 of which are incidental, just 1 at a time. But we have 11 cards to cut. Oh. Maybe we just don't play Edicts. Maybe that's too reactive. Maybe this isn't accomplishing what we need it to. Chain Devil is not contributing to our creature count for Peach Garden Oath. It is only going to kill something that has Hexproof or Shroud when it's the only creature in play. It's a value play. We are going to reuse creatures occasionally, but it's not a strong part of our plan. It is nice to get off Throne of the Dead 3. It does skip tokens, but it's not going to get around like Llanowar Elves. I don't think this is what we're trying to do. This is a very rare black deck that's cutting its edicts, but it's correct, I believe, based on my current assumption. Shield Wall Sentinel is starting to look maybe like it's not right. It is, you know, it's getting two cards that we like: Cemetery Gate and our Basilica Guard. Dimir House Guard is like crazy in the number of things it hits, and we have a ton of mana. But maybe this is not where we want to be. Cut the wall. So are you saying cut the shield wall, or are you saying cut the cemetery gate? Because it could be both of them. If we cut both, then it would make more sense. If we cut both, it makes more sense to cut both. Yeah. You know, it's just a question of what. Yeah, like is it that important for us to find an extort card for 4 mana in a body? Maybe not. I really like the idea of having this lock of having Cemetery Gate and Pestilence in play, and the ability to tutor for both of them, because Pestilence is a win condition in of itself, as well as the fact that this just comes down on 3. This can come down as early as turn 2, and then it's going to start rapidly accruing value as people just don't attack us, or because like they want their damage to matter. So if we're looking at, like, we don't even have cranial plating in here. Oh my god. And cranial plating with 23 artifacts and the ability to give something lifelink is strong. It's actually really strong. Okay, let's look at it this way. Cemetery Gate is saving us a lot of life. It is blocking. It is enabling Pestilence. But is it actually stopping commander damage from something like a Dargo? No, it's not. Is it actually stopping commander damage from an Oxida Finisher? No. Is it stopping commander damage from a Sailor's Bane? No. Oh, it hurts, but it needs to be done. So we'll drop that, and then because we're dropping that, we're going to drop the Shield Wall Sentinel into the side, not into the sideboard. We actually want this in the considering. And put this in considering too. Yeah. We've got 8 more cards to cut. I think we're actually getting pretty close. 10 removal spells, 3 sweepers. Not a ton, but I'm comfortable with that given how proactive this build is. We have a lot of life gain effects that we can hit, and many of these are accomplishing other tasks. Last Breath does kind of look awkward here. It hits so many things and it exiles it, and it's 2 mana and it's instant speed. It does not ever probably stop a commander that's dealing commander damage to us. So this is actually too reactive. We're going to cut this into considering. Are there any other life gain effects that are like Faith's Fetters? I don't know. It's kind of an interesting thought. Blood Tithe, Scholar. We've got these. These are going to allow us so much leeway to just like never be hit by somebody. Just leave 1 mana up for the 1 commander that's going to kill us, and yeah, strong. It also allows us to protect the Monarch and the initiative, which is cool. I think this deck is crazy with cranial plating, so there's a part of me that's just like, how do we not have this in the deck? Put it on a Kingpin's Pet, Basilica Screecher, put it on Tithe Drinker. It already has lifelink. We can actually double up on that. Putting it on you could even put it on a Dimir House Guard if you were not tutoring with this, which probably not super common, but you can put it on a Vicious Battle Rager, so they have to lose 5 life every time. Put it on an Underdark Explorer with Menace, grant it lifelink, hit them, like just do so much damage, 22 artifacts, so it's pretty good. We can put it on an Ornithopter of Paradise. So this is actually one way to look at this, is cranial plating is kind of like Celestial Unicorn a little bit. That's the other card that was recommended by either Chris or Alex. recommended that because it's just a big creature that just gets big because it's in play. I mean, maybe it is wrong to not be playing this card. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on it. It's just that, like, this isn't really what the deck is I mean, it is what the deck is doing, but it's also, I don't know. I think in 60 card, I played a lot of Soul Sisters, and over and over and over again, I would play this card and it would just die. And it just felt like, bleh, you know. You get like the first life gain counters and somebody like lightning bolts it to like stop you from getting the counters. It's the suck. So I think for the moment, we're just going to leave this out. It might even be that we can't be doing cranial plating if we just want to like have a reasonable deck. Maybe this is like a line that relies too much on our creatures. It's just such a busted card. Cutting the initiative. I had that thought too, but here's the thing. Initiative is giving us a lot of way to apply pressure to people's life totals. It's also getting us resources that we need. Namely, it's getting us a land. It's getting us card advantage. It's even giving us a treasure might be relevant, which is not usually the side you want to go down. But the trap is good in this deck. The throne is not going to be hyper reliable. It's going to be like 80%, maybe less. Drawing a card. And the other thing that's important to keep in mind, Alex, too, is that like the cards that have initiative stapled onto them. Oh, we don't even have one of them. Goliath Paladin. Oh, damn. Yep. Like, did I spell that wrong? Goliath. The cards that like Monarch and the Initiative are stapled onto are just good. Like, Staunch Throne Guard justifies, like, when you get the Monarch, you want the ability to defend it, and Throne Guard gives you the ability to defend it. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong about that, but like, I think Gut at first is going to be happy to have us in play, I think, because we're extorting the table, which maybe they don't like because we're gaining life, but it is progressing their game plan against everyone else. And they're not likely to be like dying to extort. Like, their game is over before they're dead. A Gut player's going to be, their game is over before they're dead because of the way the deck is. Like, if somebody kills it on turn 3 and then they play it again on turn 5 and they kill it again, like, they're not doing anything and they're not winning the game probably, so they're dead before they're dead. So the extort probably shouldn't matter to them, except for the fact that it's gaining us life, which they don't like. The problem a Gut player has too is that because we're gaining life, they don't really have the tools to like deal with that. So I think that they're looking for somebody else to take care of us, somebody who does commander damage. The Initiative and the Monarch are also fantastic with Righteous Aura or Protective Sphere, because we can just sit on them. Just pay little bits of life and mana to sit on those effects. We have great sweepers to protect it. I just don't think we're cutting it. But I see what you're talking about, and I had the same thought. I just think that they're doing too much for what, too much that we want to lose these cards. Okay, draw spells. Maybe we shave one of these. Probably the worst one we have here is Demon's Due. It's the only one that isn't like really. Yeah, I think Demon's Due is going to come out. It is Behold the Multiverse, which is good. You know, honestly, guys, I think like Creeping Bloodsucker is an interesting card. Like, I know people are excited about this, but Creeping Bloodsucker, like, it's so much worse than our other drain effects. Syndicate of Tithes, Tithe Drinker, these other ones, we get multiple triggers a turn. Creeping Bloodsucker doesn't even get its first trigger until you pass a full turn cycle. And it's only going to get one. It only ever gets one. If we draw it top deck and we need to like gain life, we're not gaining life because it has to be our upkeep, right? It's just, it's so slow. It doesn't have like a good body. There's a part of me that just, I don't know. I don't know. Feels weird to cut, but I think we are actually going to cut this. It's like free extort every turn. And I think that that could be worth, but it's only one of them. And I would like much rather that we had like, where is it? Scholar of Atheros in the deck, which I'm actually going to move out of life gain here because it is life gain, but it's actually an extort effect. It's just a free, it's a 3 mana extort that doesn't require spells. So like I would much rather that and just like have this huge mana sink where I can be like 12 mana, you know, like gain 4 times 3, so 12 life, you know, and drain everybody for 4 than I would this one every turn kind of thing. I am going to cut it. Hope you guys can understand that. Maybe the question is like, is Syndicate Enforcer good enough? Card kind of sucks, but it's extorting well. It dies to all of our sweepers, but like so do a lot of our other cards. So there's that. Crypt Incursion being Graveyard Hate. You know, Honored Heirloom, good card. Kind of like the Mana Rock. Makes a mana of any color for Protective Sphere. It is Graveyard Hate in a deck where we don't have a ton of it. It's not really our job though. Like we are trying to end the game. We're not trying to stop other people necessarily, like as our primary plan. We are actually kind of increasingly not like a control deck. We are, but only by proxy of cards that are just good anyways as control spells for killing people. Reckoner's Bargain is starting to look kind of silly. Yeah, I think we are going to cut Reckoner's Bargain. It is modal. You know, we do gain life off of it, but I wish I could do the math on like how many of these we need to just like go berserk on mana. And like 20 is a lot, so we would go berserk on mana with this, but like, is this enough? And actually, let's put the draw on these cards in the draw section as well, because we do want to know, particularly the repeatable stuff, that we have enough. Orzhov Locket is draw, Infernal Idol is draw. We're not going to put Commander Sphere because it's just replacing itself, and we're not going to put Mind Stone because it's just replacing itself. These draw 2, you know, and this is going to see lots of cards over the course of the game. Removal, we're down to 9. It's just like not a lot. This is also a disenchant. Like I would love to have like Ob Nixilus's Cruelty in here. You know, just like murder. You know, like just murder, just kill something. And the reason that we're playing the big kill spells and not the 2 mana and 1 mana stuff is because we have a ton of mana. But more importantly, that's really the byproduct. More importantly, we just want to be able to kill something that's going to kill us in with commander damage. So that's like where Reprobation is okay. If it has counters on it, it can still attack, which isn't great. Where, you know, O-Ring, Face Fetters. In fact, Face Fetters is actually quite nice. Maybe Face Fetters is actually better than O-Ring. And so maybe we want to play like the Arrestor type cards. Like, yeah, actually maybe because Reprobation allows them to attack still. And if it has counters on them or Cranial Plating, it's not actually doing what we want it to do. So let's go Considering. And we're going to go permanent type aura, and there's going to be Bound in Gold. Chains of Custody is like an O-Ring, but it has to enchant something we control, and that makes it vulnerable to just being reset. Intercessor's Arrest, this is the one. Can't attack, block, crew vehicles, activated abilities, all that stuff. And these are actually much more disruptive. Oh, planner disruption as well. Yeah, and there's even another one that just got printed, wasn't it? From the new set. What is that card called? Let's take a look here. We're going to open up Scryfall because I don't know that Moxfield will have. Well, I guess they're using the same API. So it's under March of the Machines. If you don't like the previews, I'm sorry. We're going to do it anyways. Most people don't have a problem with this. That's an Aura. Realm Breaker's Grasp. This is the other version of Planner Disruption, except this one hits Planeswalkers, which doesn't super matter until those eventually someday become commander cards that we can play. Realm Breaker's Grasp would be good. Oh, there it is. It's just sitting right next to it. These actually, I think, are better than the kill spells because they are locking down that commander until they can get rid of that thing. That is actually better than killing things if what we want to do is prevent them from being able to use their commander to kill us. Oh, interesting. These cards also do not stop a gut from making tokens, right? Because that's a triggered ability. Whenever you attack, you may sacrifice. Yeah. So if you put these on a gut, it's going to continue to make tokens with one of these on it, which is interesting. But for most non-gut things, it's going to mean that it stays down, and they're going to have to use a card to kill their commander or sacrifice it or something like that. Maybe that's where like baked into a pie isn't good enough, even though it's like doing the life gain thing. We have plenty of life gain in the deck, so I think we can remove that. Unmake is really good here. It is exile. It's just a better murder in this deck. It's okay for us to be doing sorcery speed stuff because we're not looking to like interrupt combo so much. We are the combo, you know. So we can do these during our turn. About half of its instant speed, it looks like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, actually less. Oubliette's great. Maybe we need to only do one of these. Yeah, I think we're only going to do one of these. I like the Intercessor's Arrest too because this can hit all permanents, but maybe that's not important. That's kind of reactive, right? Like you want to be able to do that when somebody's got like a Pestilence and you put this on their Pestilence and it can't activate the ability anymore. But we don't really care about a Pestilence. That's not like why we're worried. We might be worried about a Cranial Plating, maybe a Whisper Silk Cloak, which these can hit. Although a Whisper Silk Cloak, it only works if they haven't equipped it yet. And doesn't stop a Cranial Plating, actually. Only if the Cranial Plating is sitting in play. So if we kill the creature the Cranial Plating is on, then we can put this on it. But that's kind of like a lot. So maybe these Intercessor's Arrests are actually just not exactly where we want to be. Like we can play Faith's Fetters because it's like gaining us 4 life, and that's good. So let's drop these into considering. Bound in Gold, probably as well. And then we want to be looking at just straight murder effects, I guess. So we've got Unmake, Murder. We could do Obnixilus's Cruelty, which is -5/-5. If it would die, exile it. This is a really good spell. Exiling is strong. There's other ones. Rend Flesh, Eyeblight's ending. Oblivion Ring can hit anything, so maybe that's useful. And it's 3 mana, so pretty good. Defile, solid. How many white cards are we looking at here? It's a pretty good mix. Don't think Defile is going to make the cut. This card is probably not going to be good enough. So let's just go. I think the card we want next is for removal is, and let's put these in sideboard for now. I guess it's not really sideboard. We could go down a land. 34 lands, 20 rocks is 50 mana source. No more. 54 mana sources, which is a ton. We could go down a rock instead, just because we want to hit our land drops and we want to land, you know, rock. Murder. So let's do Rend Flesh. It's our next one. This is destroy target non-spirit creature. The only things this doesn't hit are very limited. It's like Ghost of Ramirez de Pietro. It doesn't hit that one because it's a spirit. But it hits just about everything else at instant speed. So it's fairly unconditional. Put that in there. I think 10 is fine. You know, the other way we could look at this too is maybe 12 life gain effects. You don't want to go too much lower on this. We do want enough of those. We're at 6 cards to cut. Something's got to give. So it could be a land. I mean, Witherbloom Apprentice runs 34 lands. It's the same mana cost for the commander. It runs less ramp. So we're going to cut a land. We could cut a single rock, which in this case would probably be Thought Vessel. Thought Vessel. Of these life gain spells, we do have Dazzling Reflection as well as Awestrike. We could potentially cut Dazzling Reflection. Let's do that because I want to get this to the end, you know? I want to give you all the satisfaction of seeing this deck in its completed form. There's really nothing else I want to cut. And we have to cut 3. I mean, we have 20 effects that draw, and it's actually more like 22 because we have, there's the Mind Stone and the Commander Sphere. So we do have that. That is a lot of card draw, you know? Maybe this is there's a lot of value in here, which is good. I mean, Palace Sentinels is probably the worst Monarch effect we have in the format. A 4-mana 2/4 is chonky, but it's just like, I'd rather have a 4-mana 1/3 with Death Touch. Palace Sentinels does do better with Pestilence in play. There's that. So I don't know if I even want to get rid of any of those. There is the idea too that if we don't play the Monarch, maybe the Monarch is actually too slow. The Monarch is something we can hold on to really well, but if we're proactive, then the Monarch is like not phenomenal. Okay. All right, I think I've talked myself into it. Thorn. What we could do is we could leave one of these in. It would probably be Thorn or Staunch Throne Guard. We could leave Thorn in so that the Dimir House Guard can find the Monarch if we want it. But I think what we do is we cut the Palace Sentinels, move that into considering. I just think we want to draw more cards more quickly, and the bodies are nice, but Staunch is great, Thorn is great. Maybe it's just about cutting 2 of them and having the option of those 2. The Initiative is good too, but we could also cut the Underdark Explorer. Maybe that's the way to do it. We just keep the ones that are the most defensively oriented, because Underdark Explorer is probably not going to be attacking anyways. It's just that usually when you play Initiative, you just want to play more Initiative, right? So, and we're like cutting creatures, which is making these worse. Now we only have 17. I wish I could do the math on like what like how many creatures we need to make these reliable. Because there's a part of me that almost just wants to pay more mana for a spell that's just going to do the thing without us having creatures, which leads us back to Siphon Soul. Yeah, are there any other cards that we're missing here? Yeah, somebody mentioned Light of Hope earlier, but destroying an enchantment, counter, not that great. 1 mana, gain 4 is, it's fine. Yeah, Siphon Soul. I think Siphon Soul. Okay, back in the main deck. Just do 1. And then we're going to cut those 1 mana ones, which is funny. This is what happened last time too. This deck is a lot more proactive than what I've done in the past though. So we're going to cut Arkham's Astrolabe. I have no idea why that's in here. We're definitely not playing Nihil Spellbomb or Relic. We just do not care. Wayfarer's Bauble. Pristine Talisman is like cute, but it's 1 life every turn. It's not huge. Yeah, we're not even playing the Soul Sisters in here, which is interesting. Suture Priest is kind of cool. Maybe Suture Priest is actually where we want to be, because this is like progressing our game plan against everybody else while also being a stacks piece. Sorry to use that terminology. It's like it's punishing Flicker players. They have to get rid of this before they can combo off. So it's accomplishing maybe what a Rule of Law would accomplish on a creature. So this is like comparable to like Aethersworn Canonist in a sense in this format, because it's basically saying the Flicker player can't go off until this is gone. Same with the Canonist, so it has the same effect. The Student of Ojutai is crazy. It's like, I don't even, like, this isn't so much about killing other players, but we have so many non-creature spells in this deck. Like, we have 54 of our cards in the deck are non-creature, which is a lot. So this is a lot of life gain, and it's a great body. Going to start paring down some of this stuff too, because we don't need to have all of that in there. We're not doing the paying life thing. We're not doing the Children of Corliss. Children of Corliss is interesting in that you can like, somebody attacks you and then you do this, right? And you gain all the life back, but it's like so telegraphed. The Soul Sisters are great cards. I don't think they make the cut for this. There might be a build where you go like way creature heavier and you play all the things that gain life off of creatures, and maybe that's more resilient. Hard to say. We've got some good life gain effects here that come along with, or the draw effects that have a body and gain a life. But I just don't think that's what we're doing this time around. Soul Channeling is going to go away. Yeah, we don't even have the protection auras here, which is kind of sad to me. It would be great to get 2 of these in there. Yeah, it's really tough to do the thing here. Let's move these lands into the deck. We're going to go Ancient Den, Barrenmoor for sure, Bojuka Bog for sure, Commander Tower, Darksteel Citadel for the Congregate, or for the War Report. Desert of the Glorified, probably not. Goldmire Bridge, yes. Yeah, we could play a lot of cycling lands. Mortuary Mire. Alex says, I think Children is a permanent fog for yourself. Could you talk about why it's a permanent fog as opposed to just a one-time use? Is that because you think people won't make me use it, and then it'll be like Aether Spellbomb kind of sitting there and just making people not attack? Because I could buy that argument. Secluded Step. We probably play Sinkhole because Sinkhole is going to turn on Snuff Out. And we're going to need like some number of dual lands. We probably don't want to play a lot though. We have lots of mana rocks that are going to fix our mana. So yeah, we probably don't need to go super deep into duels here. We're going to go throw these planes in there, and we'll just move all 8 of them. Oh, Chaplain's Blessing is 1 mana gain 5. That's pretty efficient. Okay, so your argument, Alex, was that just to clarify for everybody else, was that because, we're going to move this in here too, because Children of Corliss is in play, yeah, nobody wants to trip it. 3 mana up and nobody touches you until it's removed. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Like, is that better than Ostrike? Ostrike kind of catches people with their pants down pretty hard. Chaplain's Blessing is starting to look good. This 1 mana just gained 5. How many of those are there? CMC equals or is less than or equal to 2, 0, gain 0, 5. So 2 mana gain 5, 2 mana gain 5, 2 mana gain 5. Yeah, for 3 mana it's Deflecting Palm. The only thing, Alex, is that, so it is telegraphed, right? Obviously everybody sees it happening. People can kill... I don't really like creature fogs because we want our fogs to work, and removal is so common in this format that somebody's just going to kill it before it gets to our turn, right? Or before they go to combat, or before they do the damage. We don't have any way to protect it. So I think that, yeah, I don't think that's something we're trying to do. I had to think about that one a little bit, but I'm glad you bring it up because it's kind of, we got to think these things through about, how this all plays. Soothing Balm, White Sun Passage. These are 5 mana to activate and play, and they're going to drain everybody for 5, which is kind of like Gary. 5 mana, drain everybody for 5. We gain 5. These are instant speed. They're not anywhere near as efficient as like the 1 mana gain 8s, but there's not a lot of those. This one right here, 1 mana gain 5, that's 4 mana drain for 5. These are so cheap. I really like them. They're instant speed. I wonder if we're just not supposed to... Oh, so we need to... Oh, wait, what happened? Why do we have 27 in the main deck now? Oh, because of all the lands. Okay, so I need to fix the land situation. For those of you who don't know, you can hold Alt and press Alt 2 and hover over the card that you want to reduce the count on. And every time you press 2, it's going to reduce the number of cards in that stack. And you can press 1 to add cards. So 34. I think we can also cut Snowfield Sinkhole. Like basically, I don't think we need a ton of dual lands. We're going to play all the artifact lands because they're going to contribute to our war report. We want the draw ones because we have time. I don't know that we necessarily need both of these. We want Study Hall. We definitely want Opal Palace. Path of Ancestry is the best tap land we have. Mortuary Mire and Witch's Cottage. Witch's Cottage might not be super reliable. I think we are going to cut Witch's Cottage. That's such a weird thing. Some of these choices in this deck feel super strange. I think we'll just keep it at that, and then we're going to go up a swamp. 5 more swamps and plains. There are like life gain. Okay, so here's another thought. So if we have cards that don't gain very much life attached to lands, like Kabira Crossing. So like if we look up type land O gain like that, we get a couple. So what if the idea around Kabira Crossroads is that we play this effect, we have Vizkopa, we sink all of our mana into it, and it's like uncounterable, right? So if we activate it like 3 times, we drain everybody for 6. I think that's actually worth it. This ability to like uncounterably gain life is probably worth. So I think we'll play both of those. And then what we'll do to make room for them, those are white and colorless. So we need to cut. Yeah, this is where it's pretty clear that like Defile wouldn't have worked. Yeah, so yeah, Alex, you're saying 1 mana though for this life gain effect. Yeah, I mean that's like really good, and it's always gonna work. Whereas like these ones here, if somebody sweeps us in response, or if somebody's already swept us and we draw this, I just, it's funny. I've looked at these cards a lot. I know all the Vizkopa cards, and when I look at these cards, they pull us in like different directions, right? And this one pulls us in the direction of creatures, and that's not where we are in this build. There might be another build of it out there where you go hard into creatures, and you really focus on that. You do like mana rocks, creatures, and then instead of playing removal or a lot of removal, you just gum the board up. But let's cut these, and we're gonna bring in these just kind of mopey, but like in context, they seem really good. Life gain spells. So that's gonna be, where are they? Where is she? Where is she? We're gonna go and find these. Yeah, so first one that we want is, do we not, Chaplain's Blessing is not in here. Main deck, main deck. It's kind of funny. Where is it? I really would like to get Benevolent Blessing and Chomano's Blessing in here, just because these are interaction spells, and I think if we are in the place of like wanting to like land Vizkopa and then it's not ending the game right away, then we should actually have some amount of protection to make sure it doesn't get nabbed by an oubliette. Martyr of Sands. If we have 2 white cards in hands, this is 2 mana, gains 6. If we have 3 white cards in hand, this is 2 mana, gain 9. Alex says, I built one with Lifelink Tribal that we talked about before. Triple activate Vizkopa and swing for the fences was pretty effective. Yeah, no, for sure. The thing is about that is that we really like, we need to like commit to that lane or not, because when we go into the creature build, the whole deck changes. The whole deck changes. I think the mana rocks probably stay the same. We would be on the cranial plating territory, which I still feel like would be awesome to have in this deck, but it's just like, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, I think, Alex, you're onto something there, and maybe, maybe there's another build here that is, yeah, going deep into creatures, playing like 30 creatures or something like that, where those 1 mana cards are going to be like, gain 12 or something, or gain 14. Just, powerful stuff. Okay. So now we are, is this in considering, is that where we're at? Yeah, we're in considering right now. We got to go up to the top. Okay, these right here are going to be life gain. And, again, these cards don't do anything else but gain life, but that, that is kind of the way it is. So where is Chaplain's Blessing? Can't find this card. Chaplain's Blessing. Oh, there it is. Okay, main deck. We're going to do 1 in the main deck. Okay, so there, we're up to 106, which is, once again, above where we want to be. But, okay. Well, if we're like really getting real about the Monarch and the initiative, maybe Underdark Explorer doesn't make it because it's a 3/5. Okay, we'll do that. 3/5 just dies to a lot of stuff. All these are like chonky. 1/3, 1/5, 3/6, 2/5. These like justify their place because they're just like great blockers, and they're gonna ensure that we hang on to that resource. But as we go down in creatures, it is starting to become increasingly clear that like these maybe aren't. Huh. Got Awestrike, Riot Control. For each creature your opponents control, this is a massive blowout. I can't wait to do this. This does require that our Vizkopa is in play when they go to do the thing, which you know, actually both of these do, um, which is kind of interesting. Like requires Vizkopa, whereas like when we play Vizkopa, we cast a 1 mana, gain 5, activate. We can like do all that stuff, and our opponent's not going to be able to like stop us. Whereas if Vizkopa sits in play, they can kill it, and then these are just fogs then, right? They gain us life, which is cool, but then they're not like acting as killing the opponent. And I like cards that just work. I'm very boomer that way. I just want it to work. And we got the blessings, which we just added, which complicate things. We've got the sorcery here, which needs to go into life gain, and these two would be under a protection tag. Always remember that these can be put on your opponent's stuff too. So that is a thing. Dimir Houseguard is very strong, but increasingly starting to look like maybe it just isn't needed. Maybe we aren't trying to tutor for cards. Maybe we're just drawing into the good cards and we just have them. Like, are we doing the play? We do have 19 mana rocks, 3 mana to tutor, grab Pestilence, cast it for 4, that's 7, and then crack it for 3, that's 10 mana. That's a lot of pips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 black pips, which actually is getting me to think that this white mana is like not premium. Yeah, we actually do need a lot of black pips for this and this. Okay, 5 more cards. It's just like breaking my heart that I think it's the Benevolent Blessings, like these, that maybe don't make it. Maybe we cut one of these. I think what we do is we're going to cut the Soothing Balm, so we just keep one and one of these. Cut the House Guard. Okay, we'll do it. We'll cut the House Guard. We'll see later. And it's just House Guard hits, so it finds so many things that it's like really, it's super strong. But we'll do the Balm. The other thing we could look at is maybe instead of playing Awestrike, we just keep the Balm, right? I think I prefer that. We're going to do that. Yeah, we want a lot of black for Gary, for sure. We're not going to have a lot of pips in play for Gary. Gary is not going to be a huge drain effect in this deck. Like, we don't have a lot of stuff that's just sitting in play. But Gary just, like, his life gain is so strong that it justifies its position. So we have 3 more cards to cut. Yeah, I hate to do it because these cards are important, but we're gonna drop them because we are proactive here, and then maybe we drop a rock and go to 18. In that case, we're gonna drop. What's the worst rock here? Prismatic Lens could be considered the worst rock here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 2-mana rocks. We could cut Fountain of Ichor. Card is so good. So good. I mean, honestly, like, I don't think this deck is in the business of like dealing with other people's graveyards, to be quite honest. Like, I generally, like, if my deck is proactive enough, I'm only going to play Graveyard Hate insofar as it still serves my plan. So like a gut deck can always just put Relic in there or put Nihil Spellbomb if it's in Rakdos, because it can just sacrifice it to do other stuff. Could also cut a removal spell. That's a possibility. Not cutting a land. We could cut a rock. We're not probably cutting life gain. The fogs are important. We could cut Syndicate Enforcer. Prismatic is the worst at 2. Yeah, that's probably correct, and that would put us at 9. Okay, so like half and half. Let's just do that, and we're at 100 cards. This is great. Okay, so need to mark the time here. We are, let's see, at 2. Oh, it's funny, that doesn't take into account the time that I started when I started this and I wasn't actually streaming. So let's take this into some playtesting and see how it goes. 2 lands, Opal Palace is colorless. This is not going to work. We want rocks. And look, if we start to see that rocks aren't showing up like we want them to, we're going to need to pivot. Boy, this is a real ball buster here, because if we just had 1 land, we could go bananas with it, I think, but we can't keep this. This is a hand of magic cards that we could keep. We do have some nice ramp. We have Congregate, which is really powerful, but I think this is too early. So we're gonna bottom this and keep this, because we wanna be able to draw into more stuff, more lands in particular. So we draw, yeah. All right, so we'll go Swamp first, draw. Ooh, we really just need this next one to be a land. We're gonna go Basilica Screecher. We need a land right now. There we go. Okay, so we go there. We're gonna pay 3, go Fountain of Ichor. Where did we get this? Oh, I put the Faith's Fetters out. Okay, there we go. Goofy. And we're going to draw land. Okay, that was good. So now we can kind of do our thing. So we're going to go Radiant Fountain. 1, 2, 3. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, for Sisay's Ring. I don't know if we extort right now. And then I think what we do is we go Foreboding Fruit. And we draw 2, and we make a food token. Oh, there we go. And we're going to just put the graveyard up here so you all can see it. And then we draw. This is turn 5. So we're starting to get quite a bit of pressure at this point. Gary looking kind of sad. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana available, which is quite a lot. So I think what we do is we go 1, 2, we cast Syndicate of Tides, we extort, we go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say because we could actually just cast the Spell Bomb and extort it twice, which is what we're going to do. We're going to cast the Spell Bomb, extort twice, and then we're going to pass. And if we need to, we can always draw a card off of this. But I think we're going to pass on that. Crypt Rats. Okay. At this point, it's pretty appealing. We could go 1, 2, cast Vizkopa. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Only 6 mana. So that's enough for us to activate it once, crack this, and crack a food. Yeah. So we're going to go Vizkopa, pay 1, 2, 3 with a floating. Crack. We're going to pay everything basically. So we're going to crack this, and we're going to crack this, and we're going to drain everybody for 8. And then Vizkopa probably dies, if we're honest with ourselves. Play a swamp. Go 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, actually, even better. This is where the Sisay's Ring comes in. We go 1, 2, 3, 4 for Faith's Fetters, and then we extort twice. And then we've got a block. We don't have a blocker up. Yeah, we just got these. And then we draw for turn. Place Plains. You know, it's funny, the devotion on this isn't looking very good, is it? This is devotion for 3. It's like a 5 mana spell. Like Oubliette, Pestilence helps that, but like we don't actually have a lot of devotion, do we? Okay. So we'll go 1, 2, 3. No, 1, 2, 3, 4. Cast Vizkopa. 1, 2, 3. Oh, we can't even crack it. That's wild. So that's 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we can't even, we can just cast it. Yeah, we'll just cast it and extort it. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 extorted. So it's a nice drain like that. Pestilence. I think this is the turn where we go 1, 2, 3 Crypt Rats. 1, 2, 3 activate. And then pay, and say we pay the extort, and then we pay 3 into Crypt Rats, and we probably win the game right there. Lifelink. Wait, did I give it the lifelink? So let's see, how did that work? So we go, so we'll just go untap. So we go black, Sisay's Ring, Crypt Rats. 1, 2, 3 to give it lifelink. Yeah. And then 1, and then, yeah, 1 for the extort. 1, 2, 3 to, yeah, hit everybody. Oh, but then we don't have the ability to activate. So maybe the way this works is that then I go, with this, we go 1, 2, 3, activate Vizkopa, pay the Fountain of Ichor, hit everything for 1. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then however many creatures. So that's actually pretty good. Yeah, and then this dies. And at that point, we're probably game over at that point, right? And then read the bones. Okay, so let's restart. Black, white, no rocks. It's a do nothing hand. Man, this is like making me really just want to play more rocks. Yeah, we'll keep this. Draw. Pajuka Bog first so we don't lose our curve here. Swamp. Like we really want a 2 mana rock here. It's like really hard on us. This is actually on top. Yeah. Go 3. Network terminal. Draw. Land. 4. Sisay's Ring. Sphere. Go. Draw. Alex says, off topic, I built a Cormella combo deck that in play test I got to win on turn 6 repeatedly. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, Cormella has a number of interesting things you can do with Exhume and some of those spells. Yeah, I think I'm less bullish on Cormella as a combo deck. I've seen it played a lot and I don't see it win a lot. But there is possibility for Cormella also just to do mid-range stuff. It can just be a ramp card that gives you a card when it dies. I think that's also reasonable. And also just getting Grixis colors is good. The Cormella combo, it just gets a lot of pressure. You do get colors that allow you to protect yourself, but maybe that's what people aren't doing enough. But like gold fishing a turn 6 win, the trouble is that we really do need to assume that we're being interacted with like very heavily if we're trying to present a turn 6 win. So always keep that in mind. So we've got these rocks here. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 mana. We can go 1, 2. So what if I went 1? Do I have a plains? These are all swamps. Plains, cast Vizkopa, activate Vizkopa, and then play, oh yeah, 1, 1, 2, so we've got 1 floating, but Vizkopa activated, and then oh, so the funny thing is we really, yeah, I guess we just play the Radiant Fountain like that. So we gain some life. draw. This is like really early to play it. I don't like that. Not sure if this is working the way I wanted it to right now. Because we don't, like, you need to be able to play Vizkopa with a ton of mana up. It's like a 5 mana play to play it, activate it, and then cast your life gain spell. And I haven't had life gain spells here yet. So maybe that's just the hands I've gotten. I don't have any extort. I just have some random kill spells here. I think, yeah. So we're going to tap this, tap an artifact. So we'll tap that. We're going to draw a card, and we're going to loot away probably this O-ring. 1, 1, 2 for this, and then 1, 2 for this, and then probably we could consider sacking this at end step, but like Vizkopa is definitely dead at this point. So Pestilence, yeah, that's pretty good. We'll just like clear the board. I want to see what's coming down the line because we're not drawing life gain. Like this is really intense. Like we need that life gain and I'm not hitting it. 12 life gain spells. Gary looking kind of mopey. Like how many permanents do we have that have black pips? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is itself. I'm getting a call here. One moment. One sec. Yeah, maybe Gary is not where it's at. Maybe Gary is though. 8 mana, cast it, activate. The only thing here is that a lot of these turns I'm noticing that I want to like run Vizkopa out, activate it, and then cast a spell, which starts to look like a 10 mana play in almost any circumstance that we do it, and it's not ending the game. Which suggests to me that we need ways to protect Vizkopa Guildmage permanently so it can sit and play. I think what we're going to do is we're going to wrap this stream up for now, and we're going to, I may have to come back and look at this again, but there's just so many cards we want to have in here, and I'm not seeing it just yet. I think I'm confident that Vizkopa wants to be a bit more proactive, and it wants to have lots of mana. Maybe the proactive part I'm wrong about, but it definitely wants to have like this amount of mana. And because it has lots of life gain, it can grind. So maybe the other version of this that maybe it was just like going back to my old build, but just with a lot more rocks. That could be it too. Yeah. Well, for all of you who are still here, I want to thank you for sticking around and for your patience and waiting for this live stream, which did come a day late. Super stoked about how progress in the server has been lately. We've had so many people playing games. I think at any given moment we can look in and see that there are people playing games at all hours of the day. So that's been really exciting. I've been really pleased with the support we've gotten through Patreon. So thank you all the patrons who have made this work possible. Don't think I have anything else for us today. The link for the deck is in the description below. If you have not yet liked the video and you want to support what we're doing, do that free and easy thing and hit the like button. If you want to make sure that you see all of our videos when they come out, hit the subscribe. There's a little bell icon with the subscribe as well. If you hit that, then when we go live at odd times, like with gameplay, live streaming, things like that, then you're going to get notified about it. And that's great. So you'll get a little ping on your phone. If you are interested in supporting us on Patreon, I will show again the link here is patreon.com/commonconnoisseurs, where we have different levels where you can support us at. We also do have a storefront if you're interested in buying some of our playmats, which I believe, let's see if I can find real quick here, the link tree for that. Yeah, LINKTREE. Check out our playmats here, which I designed and then Clay implemented by getting it up on this website. We have one that's in blue, and we also have a textured background that's got kind of a slate granite, which looks really good. So this is another way you can support us. Yeah, but other than that, it's been great having you all here. I really have appreciated everybody's engagement and feedback, and for sticking around and enjoying the show. Link is in the... This is what happens when you talk too long. You gotta get water. One sec. All of the links are in the description below. And with that, connoisseurs of fine common cardboard, thank you so much for sticking around. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will see you on the battlefield. Peace.